Wonderful. Well, as I said, I've got Calico here with me today, and I'm always just really excited by these shows because it's my opportunity to just get really curious about something. And today, and this past few days, just been joining with Calico, and we've been diving into this and what it means and what it's been for her. And it's just been a tremendous journey, actually. So I would love to just open it up saying thank you so much for joining me today, Calico. And we're rethinking sickness. What comes to your mind when you feel that?
Okay. Hmm. What's there right now is, I think, rethinking sickness, and I just feel like it's my mission in form right now. And it's probably been this whole incarnation has been building up to this. Being a physician for 35 years and really wanting to explore why some people would get better with certain things and others wouldn't, but there was no consistency. There was never consistency. And that bothered me. And so really, A Course in Miracles, when that came into my life, it was really seeing, and this has been layers and layers of coming into this. Sickness is only of the mind. And, David had a great quote. I should have it tattooed. I don't have it memorized yet, and I don't know why. This is from David. The belief that we are human being on planet Earth is a distorted perception. It is the sickness. The sleeping mind would rather remain tiny and call forth a witness of sickness to prove that it is right about its tininess. And I must say, this quote has bothered me. It has disturbed me. And it's all perfect because it just allowed me to go deeper and deeper into prayer with it, because the amount of guilt that's there was enormous initially. When we talked about this, the fear was huge. And yet, staying with, the way in which David and the living miracles are really living A Course in Miracles has been my answer to an eternal prayer. Yeah. And I'm, what better experiment than to use my body in this whole investigation of illness, death, and getting that those are just concepts in an insane world. And my sanity comes from something so far greater than the world. And that's what I get with Rethinking Sickness, plus a whole lot more. And that's what we're going to be discussing in Rethinking Sickness. We're going to be holding each other's hands pretty tightly, and we're going to jump into the rabbit hole that takes us vertical. And it's going to bring stuff up. And that's the way this works. And it's a powerful process. And I'm so grateful to be exploring it with so many other courageous people, exploring their lives through these principles. Because not all lives look alike, and yet the fear is the same. Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like this topic is so huge, actually, because what you described in that course quote there doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the body, but actually the title of the show today is called Health is Inner Peace. So this actually goes so far beyond far beyond the body, actually. But, I think that's why I'm so partly why I'm so inspired by this. Number one, I mean, I'm just blown away actually by the way that you are rethinking sickness. And I know we've been talking about this a lot. Wow, I just feel bursting with questions actually, which is what I love about these shows so much. But I guess the first thing I wanted to share is you describe sickness and the body as a gateway actually, but it goes to something far, far deeper than the body. And I just have appreciated the way that you've been using this. Like, this is your journey that you now have the opportunity to really share. And even just to share a brief parable. So I asked Calico to be on my show this week, and she lives just down the road. And so like, oh yeah, come on up to the studio. And Calico just went into deep prayer. And maybe you want to share your experience, Calico, because like, want to just share the miracle and the prayer and your journey in rethinking sickness, just in this tiny little microcosm example of why isn't Calico sitting in the chair next to me today?
Oh boy. Yeah, this is, there's been a lot of actual miracles coming out this past week. And that I need to say, this is a 6-week program that's just going to open the door and kind of allow people to move in a direction that they're perhaps not going in right now. But the healing is deep and ongoing. And there's so much joy each time I take on one of these little burps that come up. So we live right down the road from each other, and Christmas is tomorrow. And I actually, one of the reasons I stopped doing Beyond the Body was getting to the studio has been problematic. There are an enormous amount of steps to get to the house. And then there's another flight of steps to get to the studio. And I was holding it in my mind as the Mount Everest, my personal Mount Everest. It's like, okay. And every time I take the steps, it's a walk in prayer. Every step is a walk in prayer. And, the reality, the body is always changing. And boy, I get that more now than I ever have before. And it's not for me to judge it. No matter how it changes, that's a judgment that there's no cheese down that tunnel. So I have gotten to the place where I do not look to the body for who I am and how I'm doing. As I stay in the moment, I'm completely pain-free. There's nothing there, but mobility has been one of those things that hasn't been it hasn't occurred as easy. And so when you asked me to come to the studio to do this, and then tomorrow we're having a big Christmas celebration also at the same house, and there's going to be lots of beautiful music and singing. And I know how this process kind of takes a lot out of me. When I climb the stairs, it's like there's a recovery. I liken my body to an old vehicle without a radiator. Without water in the radiator, it's only going to go so far. It's going to heat up, and then there's going to be a period of time to recover. And that's kind of the way my body is experienced over here. There's no metabolism, so if I do anything physical, it heats up very quickly. And then there's a period of time that I need to just recover energetically. And so I didn't want to do back-to-back climbs up on Mount Everest. And I made the decision that for me, as much as I absolutely adore this program, and I do, and Suzanne and Jackie, we've spent over a year on it. I would rather listen to the music from the angels that are going to be singing tomorrow. And so I opted to choose that instead of this wouldn't take no. And it seems like there's quite a few people that wouldn't take no this week. And it was all beautiful and just for my healing. Because every time I said no, it was an opportunity to rethink. It's like, okay, who's saying no? What's saying no? And then you kept coming back with new ideas, and I had exceptions, and and so anyway, you made it work, and you wouldn't let up. And it's like, that's why I love living in community. I must say, it's there's no agreement in no. There's just no agreement in no. And that's really where Rethinking Sickness is going to go. There will be no agreement in being sick. And I can't say that because there are going to be some surprises in the program. And I can't share all my goodies. But it's just, we're all going to hold each other as not a set of symptoms. We're going to hold each other as the mind of Christ. And when you join with a brother in the mind of Christ, powerful things, miracles are going to be exploding all over the place. And I'm excited about it. And I've seen the backgrounds of many of the people that are going to be in this program, and the commitment is deep. And I don't know where it's going to take us, because I'm on this journey too. I'm on this journey on a daily basis. I mean, just this past week with the nose and do another spirit, go into this, what's there, and uncovering all these silly beliefs that stop me. And I'm not willing to be stopped. So, yeah.
Well, that's what I love about this example so much, actually, is because we joined and I had this invitation and I was bursting, and I wasn't quite as I seemed on the phone. I was like, Calico, I really feel this. It activated in my mind. It was like a switch got turned on, and I was like, rethinking sickness. This needs to be shared now. Like, there was this huge, like, something wanted to be born out of it. And so when we had joined and you'd shared what you shared, and I just actually so appreciated the amount of prayer you put into it. Like, this is rethinking sickness in action. Like, is it about the program, or is it about the actual process of rethinking sickness? And I so loved that. You were so committed to that. It was gorgeous. And then still that persistence in my mind of like, I wouldn't be so activated with this if it wasn't supposed to happen. And being it was like, there's another way. So yeah, it was just wonderful. And then just hearing your transformation with it, like this is what I love about the gift, you guys. So it's not about the Rethinking Sickness course. It's about the fact that Calico is rethinking sickness right now. We're all doing that with our respective sicknesses. It's not just about the body or about death, sickness. Actually, it's about depression, anxiety. Like, as you said, you shared earlier with that course quote, Calico, it's about the belief that you live in this world. That's sickness. So I just so appreciated the way that this show developed, and yeah, just feeling that strong activation with, there's such a tremendous gift on offer in this program. Like, you can call it life-changing. This will redirect the course of your thinking, and it will show up in your life in that way. So,
and that's what you were just saying. No matter what is in the mind, it's fear. I happen to have been given a cancer diagnosis, but that's no different than anyone else's fear of losing a child, fear of never having a relationship, or fear of not getting another job, a better job. It's just fear, and it manifests in whatever way it manifests. I mean, I'm a horrible course quoter, but in the book somewhere it talks about the problem can appear different. The solution is the same. And it's like, it doesn't matter if a child doesn't want to go to school versus being diagnosed with terminal cancer. The solution is the same. And it's, who am I trusting? Who am I listening to? Am I willing to see this differently through the eyes of Christ? And that really is, it's a simple solution, but the process is, it's eternal. And, the world of delusion that we live in shows up as the delusion that it looks like until all of us take on that fear, whatever that fear is that feels like, oh, I'm not going to survive this one. This one, this is my sacred cow. Don't go there. You can deal with anything else, but don't deal with my sacred cow. And it's like, and this is just saying, no sacred cows allowed. We're going for it. And I'm in this journey too. I've been healing rethinking sickness for the past year and a half since I started this project. And I will continue probably through the entire course and after, because it's what I gave myself in this script to allow myself to fly in the face of some big fear. Yeah.
Yeah. And what a blessing it is actually that, as you said, it's all the same fear. And here we have something like sickness showing up, rethinking sickness more specifically, where those that have that as a very present experience, whether you want to call it, I don't know if you want to call it depression and anxiety, or you want to call it terminal cancer, like there's an actual, that's a wake-up call. That's an alarm bell that lets you know that there's healing that can happen. And so something like this with a facilitator, one such as yourself, Calico, to really walk through that together, because anybody will tell you living in this community, it takes mighty companions. Like the course is an excellent, of course, pointer back into self-responsibility and ultimately, am I willing to accept the correction? But your brothers are so invaluable along this journey. In fact, I think there's something in the course that says, speaking of horrible course quoters, I think there's something, it is impossible to underestimate your brother's value. That's what it is. And yeah, truly, that's really what this course is. It's not, the trappings can change, but really it's an offer from a mighty companion holding out their hand saying, hey, are you struggling with this too? Because I'm walking through this and I'd love to share this journey with you. Yeah. So
I call it the perfect adjunct therapy. No matter where you're finding yourself in a sickness model, whether it's a family member that you love that's sick, or you are experiencing or have been told some diagnosis. Again, it's like, let's all join in this because we're kind of in a similar paradigm and there is a way out of this. And it's not about healing the body. That may or may not happen. And that's perfect, however that goes. But what I do know is that, are you joyous? Are you happy? And if you're not happy, then this course is for you, because I guarantee that's where we're taking this. No matter what your circumstances, no matter where you find yourself, you can be there in a state of grace, which is joy. And that's really the offering of this whole program, is to bring whatever's there. Let's put it on the altar and let's join in seeing it all differently. Because really any fear, it's not just sickness. Well, sickness is just fear. But it's like David was saying, it's that it's easier to accept my tininess than to really get how great we are. And, that it sounds like a complete oxymoron. Like, why would you fear being fabulous? Well, we do all the time. We die all the time. It's like, and that's the other thing I want to offer people that are out there that have been given a death sentence, or they see themselves as dying or whatever. There's another way to look at it. And if you're willing to take on going into some real skinny branches in your mind. Join us, because I was in hospice and I was out of here, and there was a piece of me that was completely resigned. It's like, oh, great, death would be easier than this. And I'm just here, that was 10 years ago. And I'm just here to say, no, that's not what Holy Spirit is asking for us. Holy Spirit wants us to be joyous. Our only job is to be happy. And if we're resigned to any kind of living situation that is bringing us less than happy, this is the program. We're just going to take it on and see where it takes us. And I have no idea. I've set up what I've set up, and we're just going to take it and flow from there. Very tabula rasa, to quote another beautiful program. Yeah.
And so the beauty of this as well is that it's interactive. And I just wanted to go into that for a moment, Calico, because there's a number of facets of this where you get to experience the value of having a mighty companion along. So we've got, I keep looking over here because I've got it up on our screen. We might share a little bit about it with you. But you've got this doorway course called Rethinking Sickness, which is available, and it's multimedia and interactive in a way. And you could just do that. But like, what is the value of actually having these other elements in there? Because the fear is going to come up, actually. The fear is going to come up, and when it does, what happens then? And that's where your brother becomes so valuable, as this witness that says, no, hang in there. Like, this is all right. Let it come up, and this is what this is for, actually. So I wonder if you could share a little more about that, Kelly.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about seeing our innocence. And really, when some of these fears come up, the guilt is so enormous that you really have to have someone from the outside that can hold your hand. And it is a self-study. I just want to, I know everyone says, the Course of Miracles, it's a self-study, shouldn't be charging for it, and blah, 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 whatever. And the reality is, that's true. Absolutely correct. It is self-study. It's in my mind. It's in your mind. It's not something anyone can do for each other. We have to have the courage to go within to see what we're thinking. And once we see what we're thinking, the guilt will come up, because it's not a good neighborhood that you're going into. And it can get pretty nasty. And it's like, this is where joining, and the Course talks a lot about joining with a mighty companion. It's not like that mighty companion is going to be able to do anything for you other than to remind you of your innocence, remind you that you are the Christ. And we forget that. As soon as we go into that guilt, we have forgotten why we're here. And it's kind of like, and that's the benefit of having a facilitated program, particularly with Rethinking Sickness, because it's the body, and again, somewhere in that blue book, it talks about the body is the last projection that we're ever going to have to deal with, because it's pretty personal. It feels real personal, and it feels very real, particularly when you're having pain. It's like, I'm sorry. You can tell me all, I am not a body, but I'm hurting. And it's like, really to allow a mighty companion to join with you and really get you back into the presence. Listen to the birds, be with your breath, and have someone joining in a heartbeat and getting back into the present moment of now, because in the present moment of now is the only place that you can go vertical to Christ with. And so once you get into that present moment, there is no pain. I guarantee there is no pain in the present moment. That's how I deal with pain control these days. If I have any pain whatsoever, it's to go into a prayer immediately. And that takes me into my Christ mind. And there's nothing but birds singing in the Christ mind. And so that's what we're going to be doing for each other. We're going to be joining in a Zoom room. We're going to have a private Facebook group for anything that comes up during the week, and it's very private, so everything can be discussed. There's going to be a lot of support on this one. And it's like, I just say, bring your willingness, and we'll take this journey together, and we'll just see where it goes. And that's what my life is about. I look at just Calico, the form. And from the time I was a child, my mother was ill all the time. And I took care of her. So I was trained well in taking care of. And then I took on being a doctor, where I took care of. And I really feel like this is the ultimate in being cared for. And it's only that I can do with others. I can't do this by myself. Yeah. And so it's like we're joining in love. And I've never done this before. And I just know that Holy Spirit's in charge of it, and Holy Spirit's doing all the heavy lifting. And those people that are coming are extremely courageous. It's like the earth is flat, and we're all getting on a boat going, I don't know where we're going, but we're going to prove that it doesn't end. And that's really how I see this whole program. Yeah, we're going to be joining in Christ for 6 weeks. And what shows up that isn't Christ, we're going to be joining. And we will be together in every aspect of it. It's my ministry. I see it as my personal, this incarnation ministry. And it's a perfect script for it. I gave myself the perfect script.
Oh, that's wonderful, Calico. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing this with us. I just want to touch on one last thing before we wrap up here. We've just a few minutes left, but you touched on something in your sharing just now where you said, this is how I'm dealing with pain now. And I just want to highlight the practicality of all of this, because it's one thing, as you said, like it's so easy to ghost over it and say, I'm not a body, I'm free, for I'm still as God created me. But the reality of it is I'm putting that over top of something else that I'm experiencing. There's a lot of forgiveness that needs to happen. And I can just share from my journey, it's been menstrual cramps that have been a very powerful healing tool, actually, for many, many years. And it takes something so practical and direct to be able to move through it. And so I just wanted to share within this course, and then Calico, your experiences, to highlight, what do I do when? Because that's really what you want to know. That's really what this whole journey is. Because it's in moving through that fear, whether it shows up as sickness, or it shows up as fear in relationships, or it shows up as communication, it's all the same. The same answer is, what do I do now? What would you have me do now? So I just wanted to share that this is going to be so practical, because we need that step-by-step guidance.
Absolutely. And there's always something to forgive. When the pain comes in, it's not there to just get you to go to a doctor or seek outside help or take a day off. It's there for a reason. There's some thought in the mind that needs to be forgiven. And this is where I'm going to be pulling out a lot of the tools that Living Miracles offers. And we'll be doing them together if necessary. I mean, I know I talked to you this morning about the Spiri app, and I don't do Spiri a lot. Early on, I was doing them all the time. And now it just comes when it comes. And this past week, I've had a couple of opportunities to download and use the new Spiri app. And I just thank you, Laverne. The app is divine, and it pulled up what I needed to see for myself, which was I'm playing tiny. It's safer to be tiny than to be in my magnitude. And there's fear with that, but it's just, do the spirit, get to the belief, go, well, I don't want to live tiny. I mean, that's not what I go around telling myself. Oh, yeah, I'd prefer to be tiny. It's like, well, that's not true. And so then it's joining with mighty companions like I did with you, of just, I'm a no, I'm scared, and I can't do this by myself. And just joining with a mighty companion that can hold the space of my eternal greatness. You don't get that from just anybody. And I just thank you for over the years of joining me in my eternal greatness as I do yours. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Well, this brings us full circle here. We could have called this show Fear of Fabulous. So that's what I'm going to Fear of Fabulous. And then that was in my mind. So that's wonderful, because sickness can feel so heavy, but that's all it is. Fear of Fabulous.
Yep.
So yeah, thank you, Calico. It's such an honor to walk with you on this journey. I'm just so grateful for our joining today, and yeah, just the witness that you are in my mind and for us all. So have anything to share? Any
no, I
final
just invite people to join us. I just invite people to join us. I mean, I don't know if this will ever happen again, but it's happening starting, well, the 31st, the first assignments go out, because there will be some homework, exercises, just things to be with. This is an experiential program. This is not, oh, good, if I memorize this prayer, I've got it. This is totally experiential in our minds, and it's to clear the fear of whatever's there, to return to Christ and joy. Yeah, my commitment for myself.
Oh, beautiful. Well, again, thank you so much, Calico. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and a very Merry Christmas to you all. We'll see you next week.
Beautiful. Okay, so we have some events coming up. I just have to comment on that show. This Rethinking Sickness, they've shared so much with you, but let's get it real simple and straight to the point. If you think you're a body, you need to take this course. How's that? It's just that simple. January 7th, 2019 through February 18th. You've got Calico supporting you, and everyone in the group that joins. It's one of those things that we need to take a look at, and we need to rethink. So beautiful opportunity to start the year rethinking who we really are. Just going through all of these events, by the way, everything that I talk about is available on the event, on our event page, livingmiraclescenter.org/events. So all of the details are there. The next one that's coming up very, very soon, in a week's time actually, is The Sound of Silence. Lots of information on the site about that. Our next online retreat starts January the 4th. Undoing the Doer. I'm going to be there. Living a life of true inspiration. Yeah. And it's, yeah, this undoing the doer thing, it came up yesterday when we were doing the movies, and it's about giving and receiving. David tells us very clearly they're exactly the same thing. And we talked a lot about it yesterday. And what is it that we need to give? It's really, really simple. It's called love. Just give it. Just give and give and give. And the more we give, guess what? The more we receive. So a great way to start the new year, awakening from the dream, undoing the doer, living a life of true inspiration. It starts on January the 4th. Oh yeah, that's I'm really feeling Calico. So that really I don't have a lot more to say at the moment. I'm just going to be with that with those feelings. So coming up next, My mind. Oh boy. Coming up next is divine intervention, and I think I need some intervention. So I'll see you shortly with Ken and Anna. Divine intervention up next in about 14 minutes. Thanks.
It's just absolutely amazing. Yesterday I started reading and already just felt, I don't know, like, it just felt as if God was speaking, like as if God wrote it, like as if there was no interference, there was no wall in between. It's just really, I'm very grateful, and I had the idea of maybe I could give like a free song from the album that really captures the essence of This Moment Is Your Miracle. I would be happy to do that so that people get like a free song with their book download or with their purchase or whatever. That would be nice.
I think that when I'm here, I'm reminded of what this journey is really all about, which is the emptying out of my mind and the surrender to the profound stillness that is my natural state. I think that in most parts of the world where there's lots of activity and cities and lots of people, it's easy to forget. It's like the ego made all of that as a distraction against the truth. And when you're in a place like this, which is just absolutely, stunning in terms of its beauty and the stillness, then it reminds you of the peace and the stillness that's within yourself. It reminds me of what is truly valuable. And that's what this place is so helpful for. It invites the mind to rest, to drop way down deep into the stillness that is available. I'm just very grateful that this place exists, seemingly within the dream, as a symbol of the stillness and the reverence and the devotion. I think I've always been attracted to monasteries, but this is the one monastery I feel in the world that is completely devoted to the non-dualistic truth that is shared by Jesus in A Course in Miracles. And it's quite a gift.
welcome back, everybody. Up next is Divine Intervention with Ken and Anna. Here we go.
Mm. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Oh, lovely to see you. Mira, Miriam, Rich. Oh, so sweet.
So the show's been changing a lot, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Everything's changing.
In a good way.
Yeah, that's what it's felt like.
Yeah.
It's like funny because so much goes on in a week here. So it's like, wow, what do we even talk about? There's the ups and the downs of the awakening journey. And now today's a good day.
Yeah, thank God. Yeah.
Other days not so good.
Yeah, pretty rough. A few days too,
Yeah,
like
I don't know how
really low days, like really. But also like these ups, and I really feel like we're in this moment of happy feeling.
Yeah. It's like the shows always lead to this. It's like throughout the week, it's like how on earth are we going to do a show when I feel like this? And then all of a sudden it's like we get picked up and we're like, oh, okay, we're good again.
Yeah.
And the shows are always so wonderful, aren't they?
Such a gift.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to share this moment with you. Feels really beautiful. And today we wanted to start with practicing our lesson for the day, which is so beautiful. So you can let it like sink in and just really enjoy this. Truth answers every call we make to God, responding first with miracles, and then returning us unto us to be itself. Forgiveness, truth reflection, tells me how to offer miracles and thus escape the prison house in which I think I live. Your Holy Son is pointed out to me, first in my brother, then in me. Your voice instructs me patiently to hear your word and give as I receive. And as I look upon your Son today, I hear your voice instructing me to find the way to you, as you appointed that the way shall be. Behold his sinlessness, and be you healed.
Yeah, it's amazing, this journey. It's like when he talks about the prison house, it's like you can go into that seeming prison in your own mind, and then all of a sudden you're out of the prison and you think, how on earth did I get in there in the first place?
Yeah, yeah. That was happening a lot this week, definitely.
Yeah.
I just really love that part of you'll see it in your brother first. So it's like if you're able to do this forgiveness work with seemingly the other, you will be able to see that reflection back. I feel that was very helpful. And it's been really a lesson that we've been going through this week. Because there's been like a lot of projections between us and a lot of darkness coming up. And yeah, it just comes to that place again, to this line, like, behold his sinlessness and be you healed. And like with that, it just felt like all this darkness and then like this wave of light is coming beneath us to guide us in the inspiration with all the changes that are happening here in the ministry.
Yeah, it's like for me when I go into like wrong-mindedness, it's like everything annoys me. I get upset, annoyed, angry, frustrated, and it's like it's just seeing the error all the time, and it's like, oh God. And then it seems so easy to project and to blame. The ego just makes it obvious, the same as the Holy Spirit makes it obvious. The ego makes it obvious as well. It's like, well, it can't be you. So there's always this righteousness that I'm right and you're wrong. Surely that's the truth. I'm right, you're wrong. It's very simple.
That's when we start going like this.
Once that starts happening, we're in trouble.
Down, down, down.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of that. God, I don't know. It's been a lot of that this week.
Yeah, it seems like this communication, because we're in this like high communication, and if like a communication gets missed, it's like, well, you missed that communication, you should have told me that. And then I just feel so annoyed. I was talking about it this morning. It's like this loop of like, there's a part of me that wants to like, okay, no, this is all my own mind. But then it's like I go to the next notch and it's like, no, actually I want to be right. Okay, you're wrong. Good, I've got it out of my system. But it's like I haven't forgiven it. It's like there's this strong part of me that just wants to be right. And, it's like, and trying to catch that is, I find it really, really difficult. The thing is though, I do find that if I do express it, I do find it easier sometimes when it's with both of us together. That's not helpful. But when someone else, a third or as part of the group, then seemingly it lifts from my mind. But if we're in it, it's almost like the fog comes over and it's like it's so hard to see that I'm not right.
Yeah, you know why? Because it starts feeling very personal.
Yeah, it feels personal.
It feels like, yeah, you're the one to blame. I'm doing everything okay. I'm doing everything fine. You're the one that's doing everything wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the trick. That's the trick. That's when we start, like, that's why I love the clarity process, if you haven't read it before. But this is like the guidance we have for expression sessions. Like, it's like, recognize the problem is not there, but it's inside, and you just need to release it from your mind. Yeah, and having a third is very helpful when you can. Release it alone with the person that is happening, apparently. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, for me, it was like so like this familiar feeling. It was like a fog that was just over me of like the past or something, that like everything was going wrong. The communication's not going right. So I then can't be bothered to do it because I'm too annoyed. But it was so familiar. But I couldn't see like the way out. I just didn't understand what it truly was. It seemed like everything was then upsetting me. But when we all came together and in the sharing, I could see like, oh, this isn't actually happening now. This is just the past. And that's all I had to see was, okay, this is the past. So great. So now I want to look at this more deeply. But in actual fact, I don't know what happened. But literally, I went to bed, woke up, and it was all gone. So I was like, okay, I'm clear again. So I don't know what it was. Just seeing, like, this is only the past.
Yeah. You know, I also love this beautiful, beautiful lesson that you found this week. Because it's exactly about that, releasing all the attack thoughts. And this is lesson 23, right?
Yeah, that was actually the next day when I woke up. We joined in the mornings, and I'm just sat there in meditation together. And I said, oh, do you want to listen to lesson 23? She's like, yeah, sure. And that lesson, I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts.
So powerful. It's not the other one.
No.
I just need to let go of these attack thoughts.
Yeah.
Feelings of I'm guilty or he's guilty. Remember the innocence. That's our practice.
So I felt like this was actually a beautiful Christmas present for everyone. Lesson 23. It's like our only problem is our own attack thoughts.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only problem.
Yeah, like
You're attacking yourself.
The best gift is to release yourself from that, let them go, and asking for help. And this is so beautiful. Would you like to read a little part of it?
I love the first line of this lesson. And he says, "The idea for today contains the only way out of fear that will ever succeed. Nothing else will work. Everything else is meaningless, but this way cannot fail." And it's so funny because that was the thing. That's the thing that I noticed underneath all this righteousness and everything. It's just fear. And it's like, how the hell do I undo this fear? That was going on in my mind. I'm just projecting out the wrongness, but it's just fear of getting things wrong, fear of punishment, fear of guilt. It all boils down to fear.
It just goes down deep into the beliefs in your mind.
Yeah.
Like, this is great.
Yeah. So now you only need one lesson, so you don't need the whole book anymore. Lesson 23, the way out of fear.
Yeah. Yeah, like, even if it feels hard, like I that's why I love Spirit, because sometimes it's very hard to pull out the projection. Like, yeah, he's the one that's wrong or something. And when I do it, it's okay. It's actually that I believe this and this and this. Yeah. It's been really powerful for me.
Yeah.
That's what Spirit is all about, really.
Yeah.
This is the lessons for Spirit.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, and with also, I feel like we've been like showered in gifts right now in Christmas. And I feel like the gifts that God is giving is like gifts of expansion in your mind, gifts of peace, gifts of love. And it's like, wow, I've never ever felt like this great about Christmas and all the early gifts that are coming. And these are the true gifts, really. Like, wow. Yeah, there's a beautiful, beautiful swirl happening right now, and it just feels that it has to do with Spanish expansion in the ministry. And I've been in the Spanish team and leading the Spanish team from maybe a year now, more than a year.
Yep.
Like a year and a half maybe. No, not that much, like a year. And it just feels like this year is full of presence and full of like expansion, and we will love to have like all these activities going on in the ministry, like here at La Casa de Milagros, to it be like a hub for Spanish and retreats and like for all our friends that speak Spanish. And it's like the Holy Spirit is calling me into something greater, calling me into getting out of my little self and the one that wants to hide and everything. Like I was telling Ken, I can't believe how much my mind has changed. Like a year ago, I would never ever think about even speaking in a public gathering with a microphone. Like there was a gathering and I would never ever say anything. I would just be silent the whole thing. Like all this unworthiness, or I don't know, like a lot of fear. And like yesterday we were in a gathering, in the movie gathering here at La Casa, and it's like the strength is just coming out and like through me, like cleaning all this littleness or something. And I just took the microphone and I started sharing, but it just felt so great because it's like all this light wants to go through me, and I'm like putting the brakes on, like no, and it's like it just feels so good when I let go and I just like allow it. And I'm so grateful. Like it just feels like this new year will be so expansive. Like it already started. It's already started.
Yeah, it's always now.
All the miracles are happening. Like when we said yes to this new phase of Spanish, Ken and I have been given this assignment. And yeah, as soon as we said yes, yes, we are willing to go through with this new project, and all the signs and symbols start to show up. I'm like, I can't believe it. Like, is this really true? Like, is this something that really happens? Like, we just said yes, and then suddenly all these people sending emails like, hey, what about Spanish retreats? What's happening with Spanish this year? And like questions about retreats and things. And then you were saying that a lot of people started to add you in Facebook.
Spanish speaking people. We just said, oh yeah, we're going to do this Spanish thing. Then the next minute I look at my phone, I've got like about 6 friend requests from Spanish speaking people. And I'm like, how did that happen? Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, all these miracles are happening. Like, I can't believe it. Like, everything is just showing up in my face, and it's like I can feel like the Holy Spirit orchestrating everything just to show me a big lesson.
It was like last night we had the movie gathering, and this very rarely happens. We have had people from around the area in Chapala turn up, but a guy from Chula Vista just up the road, he just came to the gathering, and it's kind of rare that really happens. And he's like, oh, I want to bring my friends back, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So it was very beautiful.
Like that, and also like yesterday we saw this beautiful movie called Chef. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. So joyful. I was so lifted out by it because it was all a collaboration, like teamwork, and going with the inspiration. And it was so beautiful because he had like a Spanish background or something, and there was all this Spanish music and the dialogues and everything, and it was so joyful. Like, it reminded me, yeah, this journey is just about joy and inspiration. Like, that's the thing that leads the way. He went from out of compromise, doing just the things that he was told, but in a way that he was like shrinking instead of expanding. And it's like he gets cut off his job, and he's like, okay, you need to expand right now. You can't go any further in this. And I feel like that's what's happening right now. Okay, it's time to expand.
Open the doors.
Yeah.
The doors are open.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're excited about retreats.
Yeah.
That's what I'm excited about. That's what I enjoy. I enjoy the vibrancy of that coming together.
Just feels like a beautiful collaboration. It's like the fire of the Holy Spirit is just gathering us in this union through the whole thing.
Yeah, it's like you haven't got time to worry about yourself any longer. It's like you just have to be completely lined up and just keep going.
Yeah, you forget about your little self because you're being done through so much. You forget about yourself, about your problems, and you get into this service, and it's like the Holy Spirit just beams through you. It's been really powerful. I've never experienced anything like that before. So that's what I'm sharing. Like, I've never felt like that before. So service is so beautiful.
Yeah, I just remember like when it's like when the retreats are on, like I don't really get that tired. It's like interesting, but like here during the week, if I'm on the computer, I feel I'm getting a little tired now. But then when the retreat's on, it's just like I can just keep going all day long. Start at 6 a.m, finish at whatever time until the whole thing's all closed down, everyone's gone to bed, and then we're up early again, starting again. And I don't know where the energy just comes from. It's just, you just can't help but just keep giving.
Yeah, it's not from us, definitely. It's not from us.
So
it's
I'm
just
excited
happening.
about that.
Yeah.
And there's so many people from Lakata who haven't done that with us, so I'm so excited for them because it's just so much fun. It's just so great.
Like yesterday, we could feel like everybody's ready. Everybody's ready for this huge gift, and it just feels so beautiful.
Yeah, the gifts of Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah. What a difference with material gifts. The gift of the Spirit.
Gift. Yeah.
There's nothing like that. Wow. There's nothing I want but that.
Yeah, completely. Real presence.
Presence or presence, as our
Yeah.
movie watcher's guide newsletter this week.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, presence or presence. Yeah, it's been really beautiful.
So do you feel to do a meditation?
Yeah. I'm so happy. Yeah, I'm so excited. I don't know if I can meditate right now. Yeah. What did you have in mind, Ken?
I don't really know. Maybe we could go. Maybe we could go with "I call upon God's name on my own."
Oh yeah, yeah, that feels nice.
You feel to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you feel to join us, you can close your eyes and go inward and receive the gift of the present moment as we join together in this. And Anna and I read a section each. I call upon God's name and on my own. God's name is holy, but no holier than yours. To call upon his name is but to call upon your own. A father gives his son his name and thus identifies the son with him. His brothers share his name, and thus are they united in a bond to which they turn for their identity. Your Father's name reminds you who you are, even within a world that does not know, even though you have not remembered it.
Say his name. And you invite the angels to surround the ground on which you stand and sing to you as they spread out their wings to keep you safe and shelter you from every worldly thought that would intrude upon your holiness.
Repeat God's name, and all the world responds by laying down illusions. Every dream the world holds dear has suddenly gone by, and where it seemed to stand, you find a star, a miracle of grace. The sick arise, healed of their sickly thoughts. The blind can see, the deaf can hear. The sorrowful cast their mourning, and the tears of pain are dried as happy laughter comes to bless the world.
Repeat the name of God and call upon yourself, whose name is His. Repeat His name, and all the tiny, nameless things on earth slip into right perspective. And should you join a brother as you sit with him in silence, and repeat God's name along with him within your quiet mind, you have established there an altar which reaches to God Himself and to His Son.
Sit silently and let His name become the all-encompassing idea that holds your mind completely. Let all thoughts be still except this one.
All little things are silent. Little sounds are soundless now. The little things of earth have disappeared. The universe consists of nothing but the Son of God, who calls upon his Father. And his Father's voice gives answer in his Father's holy name. In his eternal, still relationship, in which communication far transcends all words, and yet exceeds in depth and height whatever words could possibly convey. Peace eternal.
The Holy Christ is born in me today. Watch with me, angels, watch with me today. Let all God's holy thoughts surround me, and be still with me while heaven's Son is born. Let earthly sounds be quiet, and the sights to which I am accustomed disappear. Let Christ be welcomed where he is at home, and let him hear the sounds he understands and see but sights that show his Father's love. Let him no longer be a stranger here, for he is born again in me today.
Your Son is welcome, Father. He has come to save me from the evil self I made. He is the self that you have given me. He is but what I really am in truth. He is the Son you love above all things. He is myself as you created me. It is not Christ that can be crucified. Safe in your arms, let me receive your Son. Our prayers are answered. And we let the Holy Spirit shine through us this Christmas to bless and love the world.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Have a wonderful
Love
time.
you. Oh,
Love you
so
all.
much. Thank you. Hmm.
Yeah, thanks, guys. That was beautiful. Okay, what have I got to share? Yeah, we're on the move. There's lots of activity. Ricky is going to be in Edmonton on March 21st to the 24th. And then after that, she's heading to Portugal, March 28th to 31st. Kristen and Jackie are going to be in Denmark at the end of February. Haven't got all the details yet, but they'll be here soon. And with things heating up in Mallorca and so on, you're going to see a lot of activity, in Europe. So we're looking forward to that. So we're not only virtually sharing, we're actually getting out there in person as well. And I like that part of the whole thing too. Coming up in May, the Miracle Network Conference in Solihull in the United Kingdom. Francis Sue, A New Generation Speaks. So if you're in the UK in May, 17th, 19th, drop in and say hi. What else have we got? There's lots of things happening. The Spirit app, boy, it's just burning out there, burning up the ether. It's just fantastic. So if you haven't had a chance, it runs on iOS, so that's iPhone, iPad, and iPod, and it's available for free from the App Store. And Spirit TV is booming along as it normally does. Slight change to the schedule. Modern Mystics is now going to play on Mondays at 9 a.m. All of the information about anything Spirit is available at the website spiri.ai, which is just getting better and better all the time. So lots of things happening. Just want to keep you up to date with all of that stuff. Okay. So what else have I got? I think that's it for now. Coming up next is Andy with Modern Mystics, and that's in about 13 minutes. See you soon.
I'll build a shelter for your heart and cover you with roses, the color of the sky. I'll walk with you in sunshine, down paths that we all know, to a place we've been before.
Miracles should be involuntary. Wouldn't it be great to be such a habitual miracle extender that all you can do is extend miracles, and only constructive, helpful acts that would bless you and bless the entire universe would happen in an involuntary way, without your effort. What does this even mean? It just means you're so aligned with God and the Holy Spirit that you're just flowing through the day, and miracles are just emanating and radiating through you everywhere you seem to go, everyone you meet.
I'm just so grateful to be here. I've been through a number of these online retreats, and I have been just blown away with the intimacy and just how I feel everybody. It's like there's physical bodies in this room, but it's no different to being connected with all of you. It's just that connection, that minds really are joined. So I'm just so grateful to be here, and thank you.
And I feel something is stirring in me so deep, and I'm ready for it. And I couldn't have expected this to come from an online retreat.
tell me what it is you feel is helpful about this doorway for those coming to it? It's wide open. What do you feel is helpful for them?
Yeah, well, this doorway, it seems to be hidden to the everyday perceptions of the world, the linear perceptions. So it's almost like an esoteric doorway into mysticism, and it can be quite disturbing to the ego. So I would say don't be alarmed as you come close to this doorway, because the ego may have some reactions. But it's a very gracious doorway. It's God's love and grace coming into awareness. And there still seems to be steps to take. The mind is very addicted to linear time, and so it has to come in a form of steps. But each step leads happily on to the next step and the next. And with each step inward that you take through this doorway or through this portal or gateway, every step gets lighter and lighter, and you become less aware of the elements of time and space. So in order to come into experience of God's grace, you have to meet the conditions of grace. You can't bring judgments through the portal. You can't bring these attachments of the past into the portal. You have to leave them at the door. And so in that sense, it's a very light journey as you enter into the portal. You get lighter and lighter because you're not carrying the weight of past thoughts and beliefs and perceptions. I think this book is designed to give you a tool that can be used by the Holy Spirit, higher self, to really burst into an experience, burst into a huge insight that even though linear time seems to be laid on so thick and the unconscious mind seems to be so filled with false thoughts and false beliefs, that it gives you a way to start to navigate quickly. It actually can save a lot of time if you can start to follow and relate to some of these movie parables. There's 7 in there in the book, and they're amazing little parables, teaching parables and tools, to help you get into the experience of true healing and true forgiveness. So in that sense, it's a very good use of time, even though time was made by the ego and not created by God. The Spirit can really use time in a very useful way to collapse it and to show its impossibility. Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why I really chose to use these parables and these movies, because in a way it's a way of softly getting swept off your feet and taken into the divine love that you truly are, seeing that all that spiritual self-love, that Christ love that you are, that's what this is all about.
Okay, well, this is something I don't get to do very often. I get to introduce modern mystics with my friend Andy Pedge. Take it away, Andy.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Modern Mystics. And we actually do have a special guest today. It's a exclusive show with Peter Kirk, the one and only.
Hey guys. Hey Andy.
Hey Pete. Yeah.
Something new.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you on the show, Pete, because ever since we first started doing these shows, I had a feeling like I really want to see Peter on a show or something. And every time you would share, it was just felt so amazing, like the things that would come out of you. So yeah, recently me and Pete have been working on this like Spiri website together, like the new Spiri website that we've talked about a little bit. And so it's been this collaboration, me, Pete, and then we have a team. And yeah, just like everything else in this community that we're in, it's very healing, and that's the main purpose for everything that we do. So yeah, this whole website has brought up a lot of healing of control for me, and a lot of different themes, and even like communication is a big theme too. Like I remember like people will have these calls, and then I come on the calls, and really it's like a continuous practice of feeling like, okay, how do I feel? And then like really speaking from what I feel and sharing what I feel. And it could be like, maybe it's around like a new video we're making or something, but it's always a continuous practice of how do I feel? And then like sharing our feelings, but still being open to being wrong about the form that we think the feeling ties into. And then that feels like, to me, that's has to do with like releasing that control. Because, in the Course it says like you have no control over the world you made, but it's like there's this deep like control in the mind that we're releasing through these, with the help of these projects of symbols and the communication and everything. And yeah, I was just reminded of, your time when we were both at La Casa together in Mexico, and you were going through this phase of like constant communication and constant like, how do I feel? Okay, speak to how I'm feeling. Like, hey, I feel like this should be there, or like just nonstop that kind of rinsing, and it was very healing for you. And I feel like right now I kind of have that a lot too, because I have this like I'm paired up with Jess for the house here in Camas, and it's really inspiring to me actually. But it's like she's like over the house, so it's like a big area, and she has a lot of different areas within the house, and I'm basically linked up with her to really support the house in that kind of way. And if I feel something, then I'm supposed to speak to it. And one of my patterns is to not speak what I feel, and then it kind of gets swallowed, and then there's this compromise, and that kind of like reinforces this anger in the mind. And so that's why it's so helpful to just speak what you're feeling in these kind of like given assignments, because it washes that the blame and the anger and the victim just by continuing to speak to how you feel. So yeah, that's just been feeling really inspiring to me. But yeah, I was wondering if you had anything to share about your experience at La Casa during that nonstop communication, and even like now with the continuing communication as like a communication overseer and everything.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I think my life pattern has been more of being inward and probably being more quiet and not really outspoken. And that's the way I was when I was younger. I think I was kind of like, get into doing, like, I was into my art and things, and everything was quite a bit introverted in a way. So it wasn't too outspoken. And then, but I think also, like patterns in my family and things like that as well. Like when there was any kind of, I don't know, anger or stuff brought up in our house, there was a tendency for me to kind of go quiet and just try to ride the storm kind of thing. And so I think there was fear in my mind, and there was like a repression of that fear as well, because it's just like, I just want to, you know, get through this. And so like a tendency of not really saying how I felt, you know, not wanting the confrontation or whatever it was. So it was really funny when I've been in the community for a while, probably about eight years coming on, something like that. But I haven't had many opportunities since, you know, until that point of going to La Casa, of being in more of a leadership role. And it was something new for me. I think just previous to that, I had like a lot of like relationship thoughts coming up, and that's been something else for me because I hadn't been in relationship for a very long time. So I'd have these bouts of like having desire come up in my mind and kind of like really feeling like, oh, I want that. Spirit, why aren't you giving that to me? That's something I, you know, feel like I really need. And like, I'm going to leave if I don't get that kind of thing. You know, it would come up as this real rebellion from time to time. But it was so funny because when I came to La Casa and this thing, and I think the year started when we were like making commitments, and also we were saying like, what is our big lesson right now? And when it came to my turn, I said, leadership. It just kind of came through my mouth. You know, it's like I wasn't even really expecting that. And I was a bit fearful of saying that too. And they're like, great, you know, that sounds good. So like, yeah, it came in that I was at the time I was just like co-overseeing the center, or like being like a co-steward. And that opportunity was like giving me a chance to kind of like say everything that I would notice, and seemingly things would just start to come in that I've been noticing around the property. It could be like something's not tidy in the kitchen or something. And many of these things, you know, I think they were more so coming up in my awareness because Spirit had given me this assignment. And because this assignment was there, I was noticing things that maybe I hadn't noticed before. But also it was kind of like getting me to say the things that I usually wouldn't say. And so, yeah, it's funny. And if I notice something and I try to just kind of like go like, oh, that's really not a big thing. That's a pretty small thing. It's just like there's a smudge on that table in the dining room. Like, you can't bring that up. That's going to happen all the time. You can't avoid things like that. So I wouldn't bring it up. And then whoever was over the kitchen at the time, you know, I wouldn't have brought that up to them. And then I'd just be kind of like bottled up for a bit and keep them be repeating in my head through the day. And I think, you know, I'd join with like Emily or whoever was there at the time. I'd kind of say like, hey, this is what's coming up. It's such a small thing. I don't have to say that, you know, it's such a small thing. She's like, you have to speak this stuff. You have to say everything you're feeling right now. This is your assignment. Like, oh my God. So I'd literally like sometimes, you know, there'd be the one I need to talk to. I'd go in and sometimes I'd literally be shaking. Like my hands would become like shaking a bit and say, that little spot on the table, I just have to say this because I'm noticing it, you know, could you just clean that? And this is my assignment. This is what's given to me to say. And it would bring up so much, such a shake each time. And then it was just given for me to like speak over and over again. Like these things would just keep on coming up. But it was kind of coming to the point where it's like, don't take any of this personally. Don't take what you're hearing personally. This isn't Peter hearing things right now. These are the things I'm like, Spirit is giving me to communicate right now. And in that is like a real training, like actually of like being so attentive to the prompts that are coming up in my mind, where, you know, things I'd usually kind of downplay. So like, that's not a big thing. No, it's like Spirit's actually bringing that to your mind, to give attention to that, to speak up to that. Yeah, so it is. It's actually like an ongoing thing for me. Like it's an ongoing practice. But yeah, I feel like it is one of my deep healings at the moment, just continuously saying what I need to say and just letting that fear arise and kind of like going, that's just what it looks like right now. And I do want to step into strength, actually. I do want to step into a space where Spirit can fully use me and be assertive through me. And so that's how it's looked.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think for some reason this paragraph from a section that Jeffrey read to me recently, or maybe even on his show, is coming to mind. So I might read it and see how this ties in. But it's chapter 11, God or the Ego, and then it's section 4, the inheritance of God's Son. And then it's paragraph 4. And it starts as, only you can deprive yourself of anything. Do not oppose this realization, for it is truly the beginning of the dawn of light. Remember also that the denial of this simple fact takes many forms, and these you must learn to recognize and to oppose steadfastly, without exception. This is a crucial step in the reawakening. The beginning phases of this reversal are often quite painful, for as blame is withdrawn from without, there is a strong tendency to harbor it within. It is difficult at first to realize that this is exactly the same thing, for there is no distinction between within and without. If your brothers are part of you and you blame them for your deprivation, you are blaming yourself. And you cannot blame yourself without blaming them. That is why blame must be undone, not seen elsewhere. Lay it to yourself and you cannot know yourself, for only the ego blames it all. Self-blame is therefore ego identification, and as much an ego defense as blaming others. You cannot enter God's presence if you attack his son. So, yeah, I just remember I was going through this long time pattern of, these feelings of like deprivation and lack. And maybe for you, it looked like relationship. For me, it was basically around like sex and the seeming not having sex. And that was like this loop in my mind that caused this anger and the victim and everything like that. And then I expressed it to David one time, and yeah, he just started sharing about, the human condition is basically lack and deprivation. And as you withdraw the blame from everyone else, then it tends to go back on yourself a lot. And I don't think it's even a conscious thing for me, but sometimes I'll just have this emotion. Like when Jeffrey read that to me, the part that got me was really the you will blame yourself sometimes. It's a strong tendency. And somehow it feels like to me, the constant communication and following the prompts that the Holy Spirit is sending you is like, that's like the way out of the self-blame, because it's like you're in this extending mode and the body's just being used as a communication device. So it's like, it just feels like to me, it washes away the lack and the self-blame. And I don't know, it's just amazing that we're getting so many prompts all the time, and like those are the answers. And it's as simple as like following those prompts, and then you feel better. Like last night I was like, okay, I feel hungry, and I was working on some projects, and I was like, okay, do I go eat now? And then I started walking to the kitchen, but it just like didn't feel right. And I was like, okay, what is this? Like, what's going on? Like, I even took out like some food, and I was like, I don't know, I feel hungry, but I can't eat this. Like, so I put it back in the fridge, walk back, and then I run into Susanna. And yeah, I've said this before, but she's like this angel, for me. And if it's like, if I don't hear a prompt, then it's like the Holy Spirit will be like, okay, don't worry. It's like, it'll come through a brother. So then it's like, I ran into Susanna, and she was talking about, I think she brought up Jess, and I was like, oh, maybe I'm supposed to just go join with Jess. And then I go knock on Jess's door, and we just join, and yeah, it was just really amazing. It was like, that was it. It was like there was some kind of prompt there that I might not have been hearing or something. And then thankfully it came from Susanna, and then I went and joined with Jess, and then I just had some things that I was supposed to share. And yeah, I just felt connected. I felt settled, and it's like, okay, great. That's what it was. And then it's like, okay, now go eat. So it's like, it's so nice that it's as simple as like following that guidance. And yeah, it's really cool. Again, like how we can just call in our brothers like that to remind us. It's even like I remember I would be in like situations like I'm in the kitchen and I'm feeling something, but I don't know what it is. And then I almost see like someone will light up, and then it's like Holy Spirit's like, pay attention to them. And then they'll say something. And then it'll be like the answer. So I don't know. I just feel like that's really cool and simple.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's cool. It's like with our projects too, it's like we've been given these certain like links in the community, but it's really like, I mean, it's anywhere, wherever there's that call for healing and for like practicing like being in integrity and speaking the truth and trusting a brother. It's like there's always ones who seem to be given in form for us to like go to as links for our mind, as symbols of like clarity and symbols of like, one I trust who is going to be totally honest with me and like and not join me in the illusion, not join me in a saying like, oh, it's okay, don't worry about it. They're always going to like be very honest with me. And so it's been really helpful having those links for me. And so like those times where I feel like hazy and it's just like, what is it? Like, what am I meant to be doing next? I know even if I'm not clear, there's always I can drop into prayer and kind of feel like, is there one in particular who stands out in my mind, who I'm feeling drawn towards? And, it's great to be able to like give a phone call or something, even if you don't know why you're making the phone call. It's just like, hey, you're in my mind. And then, you just have this phone call and something just emerges. You had no idea, that it was going to, be the answer to the situation. I'm just finding that, again and again, I'm just so grateful. Like even in the house here, it's like when I'm not clear about, what is it I'm meant to be doing next? I have a link with Laverne here, and I can like just say, hey, I just need to join with you for a minute. Can I just come and be with you? It happened actually yesterday, just even with the movie. Like I showed a movie at La Casa, and it's like I've been showing a movie at La Casa every Saturday, and I wasn't sure what it was. Like I prayed, and I seemingly one came up on the list, and I said, oh, I've watched this one before, but it didn't really strike me. And you sure? Like, is that really the one I'm meant to be sharing? So I didn't know where to go with it. I felt a bit like lost. It's like, I really want to feel this movie if I'm meant to share it. But I went and joined with like Laverne, and we just started talking about all the themes. And I just started kind of like getting lifted up higher and higher and higher until it's like, yes, that's it. And went to La Casa, and the movie was like totally new. Like I'd never seen it before, and just totally lifted the whole room up. It was the chef movie that the movie called Chef that Anna was talking about. It was just so uplifting, and like I was like dancing in my chair. It's like I couldn't remember it was like that at all. So I don't know, it just felt like another good example of like, yeah, Spirit gives these prompts. You might not really know, like, you can't use any past learning to say like, this is, I watched this movie before even, and I didn't really feel that much with it. It's like, no, just follow that little prompt one by one and use those connections that you have that you trust, and just like open up, and then it just all unfolds. That's why I feel like there's no like figuring things out. It's just very natural joining.
Yeah, that's something that I can get into too. It's like trying to figure out how I feel before I share it. and that's one of the practices that I've been trying to get into. And we use this Basecamp app and with the community, and there's this check-in, like, how are you feeling? And I wouldn't answer that recently because I'm like, well, I don't know how I'm feeling, so I don't want to respond. But it's really like I'm trying to like figure out exactly how I'm feeling and exactly how to word it nicely or something like that before I share it. But it's really just like, no, how do you feel? And don't worry about how it looks or how it sounds. It's just share how you feel, and then it's like a thread that you'll find, and then you pull out whatever else that needs to be seen. But yeah, I was even that check-in that I'm talking about, this whole Spirit website that we've been working on. It feels like, before I came to the community, there was like this huge ambition in my mind to be some kind of like CEO or whatever. Basically, it was like this fantasy, like I want to make my world exactly like this way, and then I'll be happy, I'll be safe. And I'll form some kind of little bubble and whatever. And yeah, of course, it never really worked because it wasn't really what I wanted. And eventually it just crashed. And I was like, okay, what do I really want? And I started to really follow that guidance. And we were just sharing how we both saw Jason's video that he put out one day about spirit. And that's really what drew me in. And it was like a symbol of something that I really liked, because I was really adamant, like, no, this community thing is not for me. Yeah, it's like, it's not relatable or whatever the excuse was at the time. And then Jason put out this video and it was about tech, and it was like the innovative packaging. We're asking for volunteers. We're going to make virtual reality games and this big video game and Spirit and this and that. And I was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. I can really relate to this. And then that's why I messaged Jason and I was like, yeah, sign me up. And at the time there was this house, and you saw the video too, and you were part of that original Spirit team. And there was going to be a house in Monterey that you guys were going to rent for 6 months. And originally it was like, yeah, Andy, you'll go straight there and work on that. And then it was eventually like, no, actually it feels like the guidance is to go to La Casa. And then I went to La Casa, even though it didn't fit my original idea of why I thought I was coming to community. But when I got there, I was like, wow, this is amazing. I never want to leave this community, even though I'm not working on Spirit or what I thought I really wanted to work on. It's like we don't even really know what we want. So it's like the Holy Spirit just uses the symbols, to pull us in and then to show us like what we really want. And it's like what Ricky shared on her show last week. Yeah, the quote is something like, all you have to do is decide against deciding what you want. Yeah, is that right? It's something like that. It's like deciding against, what you think you want, because you don't actually know. Yeah. So it was like the symbols were used. I came in and I was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. I don't even care if they send me to Monterey. And then I didn't have anything to do with the whole Spirit app project for a while. And now it's like a year or 2 years later, now this whole big Spirit website and this whole big Spirit direction is coming in. And yeah, it's all being used just for that healing of that original, the control that I had in my mind when I was going for all those ambitions and the CEO thing. It's like now that symbol is being used to wash away the control, the original purpose of going towards it. So yeah, it's been really healing, but it's been really beautiful to collaborate with you and the rest of the team with that. But yeah, I'm really excited about it. Even like, if there's any kind of like visions we might have for Spirit or the website, it's like just being willing to be wrong about them too. Because, in my mind, there was this thought like, we're just going to reach everyone. We'll go viral and this and that. And then, but Holy Spirit's really like, you don't know how this is going to look. Like you have to still let go of all your ideas of what you think the whole Spirit direction is going to look. Like you can't really hold on to any kind of visions of betterment like Jason was describing. And even these like thoughts like, we'll go viral and we'll reach everyone and it'll be huge or whatever. It's like, those are like my past aspirations, like coming back in. And it's like, okay, no, it's like, just be willing to go with whatever the guidance is, and we'll wash away that control and we'll show you like what you really want. Like you think you want it to look a certain way. You have no idea like what you want. It's like a confusion between pain and joy.
Yeah. That's why it's like, it's so helpful to have these ones that we trust, like in community, and like, just in general, having ones that we trust who are going to give it to us straight, who we know we can go to. Because like, when I had all those like, relationship thoughts coming up and everything like that, Spirit wasn't really providing any avenue for me to pursue that, at the time. Like, unless it was some kind of rebellious, I'm going to go and get what I want. I'm going to go and, but I can feel like that wasn't the way. I didn't have the I didn't really feel like I had the force or the impetus to do that, really. So every time it was like, you know, it was actually coming to the ones I really trust and say, hey, I got these thoughts coming up in my mind. I just got to share all of them. And there'd be like a big like outburst and like emotion would come up. And there was some kind of washing kind of going on with that, like just expressing my desire every time. Like even if that desire was still strong in the mind, just sharing it, letting the emotion kind of pour out. And then always afterwards it was like, okay, and then what's given in the moment? Okay, it's given for me to be in a leadership role right now where I'm addressing things. And most of the time, actually, when the leadership role was there for me, that project from Spirit, I didn't have space to think about anything else. I was being so fully consumed by like, I need to speak to this one. I need to speak to this one. Like that, it really took me over. And so there was like, you know, there's a time of just like trust, 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 trust. And it's like, really, you know, and everything is like provided for anyways. Like there was even like, I actually started to notice like, you know, Linda, I noticed Linda on Facebook like 2 years ago or something, like a year ago or something like that. And it wasn't, I still had the relationship thoughts in my mind, and she really stood out when I just saw her for the first time. But I couldn't even reach out to her because at the time I had this leadership role and it's like, I'm not going to go trying to catch anything if it's not really given. I came to a point where it's like, no more of that. I'm not going to try to push anything. And so it was just like, okay. And there was a couple times I actually went to go message her and I couldn't do it. I'd write a couple letters like, it's not coming out of me. It's not given. It's not given for me to make contact right now. So it was so funny. It's like, and then naturally she was like opening up and like, she wanted to go and be at the Strawberry Festival and she was there. And at the same time, it's like, I'm over here in Mexico. And at the same time, I couldn't do anything. I just expressed my thoughts when they came up. And then just naturally, like it came in like, hey, Peter, you're needed on the media team over in Utah. Do you want to go do that? It's like, okay, you know. And even when I reached there, it's like I didn't know that, you know, that there was going to be any kind of given assignment or anything like that. But it all just unfolded. Like she had marriage, like a marriage thought come up in her mind. I had it come up in my mind at the same time. Everyone else was like going, yeah, that feels great. And it just kind of like seemed to just happen without me trying or without anything, you know. But it wasn't ever going to be in the way that I thought it was going to be, of me chasing after anything or pursuing anything. Everything's given for us right now that we need. Again, with this Spirit project right now, it's like you're my link, and like I just feel you so much. Like, you know, it's just like there's just something in that connection there that I just feel you. I feel this love for you. And, you know, it's just like, and I can see like, it's not about the form. It's not about the project, about getting a website done or getting a video made or anything like that. Because still, like every time I try to do anything by myself, like I try to make a video by myself when I haven't fully connected with you or connected with anyone on the Spirit team, it just falls flat. It's really not about that at all anymore. It's really about these links, like this. Yeah, it's much deeper than that. It's about our relationship. Like, it's about our relationship. It's like, I just want to feel connected now. It's like, I just want to feel that connection. And from that, it's like these things unfold that we couldn't even expect. Like we were talking about the Spirit Facebook page that we're thinking of launching, and we had no idea how to like approach that at all. But I joined on a call with you and Laverne and Kristen, and these ideas just started flowing out like one after the other, and like out of nowhere. It's like, wow, where is this coming from? It's just like, but it's the relationships. Yeah, I feel that more now. It's only about these relationships.
Wow, thank you, Pete.
Yeah, we just want to be in love. That's all it's about, really. We just want to be totally in love with each other.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think we're just at the top of the hour, but yeah, so great to have you, Pete. And I'd love to see you on the shows more often, but we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Open to invites.
Yeah.
Sandy. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Pete. Thank you guys for watching. I'll actually see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time for the next Modern Mystics episode. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys. That was beautiful. What am I going to talk about next? Oh, yeah. This moment is your miracle. Great segue. First of all, thank you all for your support. It is going fabulously. We're getting the word out. More and more people are pre-ordering. People are getting free retreats. It's absolutely going incredibly well. As you know, the book will be ready for in hard copy in February. So look forward to that date. I think it's February 2nd. There is, if you're feeling a tickle to give us some more help, we could certainly use it. And I'll have Carolina pop up a little list of things that you can do to really give this thing the push, and let's get the word out. As I've said many, many times, it's totally not about selling a book, but it is about getting the word out. The more I read, the deeper I get into this book, the more I'm convinced that this is something that's going to ignite a huge spark in a number of people. And so pre-ordering, 3 or 5 or 10 or 100, whatever it is, you can actually use that as a way of paying things forward and handing out these copies saying, hey, here's this book, and have a read and tell me what you think about it. So again, thank you so much for your support. It's working tremendously well. And as always, there's always more that we can do. So if you're feeling that spark, grab the list in the chat and do 1 or 2 or all of those things there to help support this the launch of this beautiful book and really get the word out to everyone. So thank you so much for your support. Coming up next is the last step with Jeffrey, and looking forward to that show. So we'll see you in about 13 minutes. Bye for now.
The guidance came in very clear. It's simple indeed. We began sharing on the internet, extending the truth to all. As we began hearing more the call, we added Facebook Live. Let's get digital, digital. We want to get digital. Let's get into digital. Let us hear the spirit talk. The spirit talk. Let us hear the spirit talk. If you desire to know thyself, and that is your only goal, quantum expansion is what you need. It goes very deep. So join us here from wherever you are. There's no need to go anywhere. Just one click and you are here. Joining us on Zoom. Let's get digital, digital. We want to get digital, digital. Let's get into digital. Let us hear the spirit talk. The spirit talk. Let us hear the spirit talk. Let's get digital, digital. We want to get digital. Let's get into digital. Let us hear the
Inside the silence of your heart, there is an open doorway. As we slip through this doorway, from our unending thoughts and distractions of the world, we enter into a fresh new reality. This new reality emerges during time devoted to deep contemplation, meditation, and rest.
It's the ride home.
Yeah, it's pure, it's profound, and it's fast. We want the fast track, and that is our only desire. We have no interest in anything else. We actually have no interest in becoming something, better at something. We're just into God, and this book reflects that, I feel.
Yeah, I think so many readers are just going to go like, wow. I mean, you know, yeah. My work environment, my relationships, my, what I do is so valuable to a speed up on the awakening journey. It's really, I think it's going to open up so many minds,
it's
to how everything can be used in our life to speed up the process of waking up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, to really feeling that purpose underneath. Mm-hmm. As soon as our heart calls out for it, and we recognize it, and then we open up to the opportunities around us. Your life will transform. Actually, it will dramatically transform.
Yeah, a flood of miracles will show up and naturally dissolve the unhelpful thoughts and fears. So it's very reassuring that it's fearful to take the steps, but when we have each other, when we have a tool like this, it can only go in one direction, and and that's towards peace, and in a very, very fast way. You're not lost. So And the world has not yet experienced a comprehensive awakening. We've heard that, and we see that in this world. It's not awake. It's a lot of sorrow in this world, but so we feel that this book actually is a great step on the way towards the comprehensive awakening, because when it comes into the hands of the ones that are starting to feel a longing to open up to a deeper purpose, the ones who wonder, why am I here? What is this about? I feel bored. I feel lost. I feel there is no purpose. These people will love this book. So yeah, it's amazing. Just feel so good about that.
Well, welcome back, everyone. You know, I was just thinking about this next show that's coming up, and it's interesting on this course that we're on, this path that we're on. It's like from the first step to the last step and all the steps in between. So here we go with Jeffrey and the last step. Take it away, Jeffrey.
Need a little water. Welcome to the last step. Yeah. So Frank is off in Mallorca finding our new house with David and Lisa. So he won't be joining us today, but I will be having a guest from South Africa, which is Catherine, who, if you've watched our online retreats and so forth, you may have heard her speak. And she'll be joining us. I did want to share a few miracles that have been happening to me, and most of all this morning. But first, I'd like to start with Friday night. Friday afternoon, we went and saw the movie Aquaman, which, you know, came with rave reviews, and we were all excited to see it. And yeah, the metaphors and everything behind it did not let down. There was a few scenes in there that really touched me deeply, and I may speak about those in a bit. But we were driving back from the movie, and I had mentioned that it was 5 years. You know, this show is about from 12-step recovery to a life of full devotion. And, you know, I don't identify with a group anymore, a certain 12-step group. And I don't really go to meetings very, very infrequently when I can get a chance. But I had said something in the car that it was 5 years, and one of the girls in the car was like, "Oh, I have a coin at the house." And I was like, "You have a coin at the house?" I haven't gotten a coin, you know, since 2 years or whatever. So I didn't really think much of it at the time. And then in the morning, so the 21st was the last day I used a substance, and the 22nd would actually be the day that people in 12 steps would consider it your day of sobriety. And I walked into the kitchen, and yeah, right by the sink was a 5-year coin. And like, as soon as I saw it, it was just this, like, I was overwhelmed, you know. It was, you know, and the mind's like, what are the odds that she had a roommate, you know? And thank you, Tamara, if you're watching. I think this may have been your coin at one point. And it was so beautiful, because I just sent an old coin that Nicholas was wearing a pair of my pants, and he found a coin in the pocket, and I said, "Ooh, Peter, you're going back to Mexico. Give this to someone in 2 months because it's their day." And there's just something amazing about it. Like, you know, this confirmation of there's no coincidences, or, you know, that I'm being taken care of, and all of it. You know, when I saw this coin, and the coin's got like flames on it, it's like got fire. And I attributed to that, like, it's time to, yeah, kindle that fire from the spirit within me that was lit 5 years ago. And with each one of these shows, with each obstacle I look at or brother I go towards, that fire gets greater and greater. And, you know, there's something around it. There's a fear. There's a fear. And this is what I saw in that movie in Aquaman, this fear of magnitude. And so this morning I woke up, and those of you who watch my morning show, I wake up quite early, and I went into the sanctuary, and I was doing my thing and inviting in spirit and scanning my mind for disturbances. And there was one there that was subtle from the night before. And when I looked at it, it was much deeper than I anticipated. And it got me in touch with these beliefs that I've faced before, and where my worthiness is, and what people want from me, and this. And I went through it, you know, our levels of mind, the perception with what I'm perceiving in another, and what I actually feel. What am I fearing? And I shared my fears. And when I shared the fear and I got to the belief, and I shared the belief that, you know, I actually have it written here. And, you know, I perceive, I am afraid of, and it was that I'm not, you know, the belief was that I'm not doing enough. And it was so deep when I wrote it. And as soon as I wrote it, my phone went off. It was 5:31 in the morning. And my phone went off as right as I was like, help me to be willing to let go of this belief. And I wrote that I'm not doing enough. And something that tries to get served back up to me over and over. And I got a message from someone who's never messaged me before at 5:31 in the morning. And I asked him if I could read this to you, and I'm going to try to get through it. So I read the first line, and I just literally burst into tears, because it was an answer to my prayer. Like, I'm looking over here at certain things and the story I tell myself, and then it was like a redirect of spirit. It was like, no, hello, we've been watching this thing, God Befriended Me. And it's like this, it's a really corny show, and I love it. It's like terrible acting, corny show, but the deeper you go into the mind, the more you appreciate those type of shows. And it was like that experience. It was like spirit showing up on my phone. And it says, "Dear Jeff, I just wanted to share with you how you helped me help a brother. I have a good friend who drinks on and off, and when he does, we stayed out of contact for months. When he is sober, he is ready to be friends again. In his periods of sobriety, he will be preaching about how raw food and exercise is his way out, and how proud he is that he works out every day. I will typically get more and more impatient. I try to be polite, hiding my anger, and leave him feeling lonely. But as I've been reading the course and so on, I've been able to let go of having to change him. Yesterday, I could allow him to do his thing. And though he sounded like he was further away from the truth than ever before, it was okay. There was a great space in the room and a connection between us. When he asked how I was doing, I gave him the honest answer about my passion for God, talking about guidance, humility, not knowing, vulnerability, and how I try to see the world not as a place to seek fulfillment anymore, and how awesome it all felt. And he said, well, I also love God, but I've given up. Every time I try super hard, working out everything I can, and it is so lonely. What do I do to get a real relationship with God? On our way to the meeting yesterday, I knew I wanted to show him your morning show and routine. And there it was, the question. I can see he was resisting as I put it on. The please don't fix me resistance. As he saw the video, the silence grew stronger, and I could see how he felt it strongly. We both did. Afterwards, he shared his mind-blownness that he had felt lost and without hope for a long time. But now he felt like there was a method, something tangible to do, and it resonated with him. I think this is a major change in his perception from hopelessness to hope, a realization that we can do this together, but that it takes consistent practice, a motivation to redirect his discipline into something meaningful. Could be a life-changing moment, maybe the biggest change I've ever witnessed in another. It's very useful material you put out, and I wanted to say a big thank you. And I mean, I bawled when I read this because, you know, here it is, this constant belief that I'm not doing enough or whatever. And Spirit's like, no, here's a witness. Like, here's a witness to show you that you're following the guidance you're taking the steps. And yeah, it was a huge moment for me because when I'm caught in that, I was sharing with someone else briefly that when I can get in touch with that emotion, like I could cry from the victim place all I want. But when that deep emotion comes up of a worthiness that I'm actually, my greatest fear is that I am worthy, when I can get in touch with that, it is beyond anything, you know, and I need these miracles to happen, you know, over and over. And I was talking with Catherine earlier, and she's facing certain things that, you know, she's maybe selling her house and leaving a job. And I had the same exact experience when I left my job. And my father was my boss. So it was this huge fear in my mind to walk away from all that, or seemingly walk away from it to follow a calling. And I walked out of the office the last day that I was really ever going to go in there, and told him, listen, I'm done. I talked to my business partner. I walked out and the same thing, my phone buzzed, and I looked at it. And it was a friend who I hadn't spoken to in 4 years. And he was saying, I just did an interview with Forbes magazine and they asked me, do you know anyone that's missed their calling in life? And you were the top one on my list. I don't think he had me going for God. That's what my calling was. But for me in the moment, it was this reflection of, it's okay, to take these steps. And when I watched this movie, there was a moment in Aquaman where, he lives on the surface and he's half human and he does his thing to help out, but he doesn't accept his full inheritance. He doesn't accept, that he is the salvation of the world, the Son of God, all the sayings. And there's a moment where he has to go all the way and he jumps off the boat and he goes down into the water and he faces where he has to get this trident. And this is a total spoiler alert, but Jason talks a bit about it on his show too. So, and when he's there, that he has to pass this creature, this huge monster that no one could ever pass, and to let the trident be taken. And as he sits there, the monster comes towards him and he says, of all the people that have ever came, you are the most unworthy. It's like, but this is that voice, he's facing that voice in his mind. And what was cool about this is in that moment, he turned to, he got down and he looked at himself really, and he turned, and his Aquaman thing is he could hold up his hand and he can communicate with the sea creatures. And it was really an understanding of himself when he got in touch with, well, I'm a half-breed. He like laid himself on that line, like, this is what I am. And when he said that, the creature was like, oh, you understand me. There was an understanding. And it's funny because as soon as I watched that scene, it brought me to this one line in the book that I read, in the 12 steps. And it says, but he who has found the solution, and again, the solution is a higher power if you're not comfortable with God, but the solution is God. He who has found the solution, who is properly armed with the facts about himself, looking at these deeper patterns in himself, can generally win the entire confidence of another in a few hours. Until such an understanding is reached, little or nothing can be accomplished. And it's like, that's what I see this interaction with Jonas and his friend. It's like, if we can take the moment to literally pause, of that moment of non-judgment, this is even in the 12 steps, there's pages 90 through 93 or 91, how to approach someone. We're sharing what we understand from ourselves. Like when we get in touch with that, then we can share from that place. And it was quite an amazing moment in the movie for me to see that bit. And I guess the other thing I wanted to share was this path, like, what me and Catherine have been talking about is, these steps, or letting go of what we think it is we want or we find attractive in the world. And it was in the littleness versus magnitude section from the Course. And it says, when you strive for anything in this world in the belief that it will bring you peace, you are belittling yourself and blinding yourself to glory. You are free to try as many as you wish, these forms of littleness, but all you will be doing is delaying your homecoming. For you will be content only in magnitude, which is your way home, which is your home. And it's like, I had a little taste of that this morning, the magnitude, the worthiness. And I guess I just wanted to share that with, everyone watching, and certainly with Catherine. And we can hear from her now. Use a break, but she's been facing some things in David visit, and I'll let her speak.
Cool. Yeah, so I guess I'll just create a bit of a context, really. This whole property with Mallorca, kind of, David was obviously discussing it when he was here, because he was from Portugal. And we would, the fact that I'm in banking and, all of that. And I just kind of felt like those are skills that could never, ever be used. Because when I signed up for the retreat, not the retreat, the devotional stay. It said, like, what are kind of things that you do? Can you do audio visual? Can you sing? Can you play an instrument? And I was like, yeah, no, none of those. I can do Excel spreadsheets. And I just thought, wow, that is really drab. Like, no one's ever going to need that in community. And he was just saying, we would need something like that, because managing this place sounds like it's going to be quite a thing, not as kind of straightforward. And obviously with the euro, things are a lot more expensive. And anyway, so what you were just talking about now with this whole, like, searching for things in the world to try and bring you happiness, I realized that quite a while ago, that it's all pretty futile. I feel like I've had this incredible life of, like, adventure. I was going to say there's not a lot that I haven't done. There is a lot that I haven't done, but there's a hell of a lot that I have done. And it's never resulted in any lasting happiness. And I really just kind of figured this out. Even before the course, I was like, my life has gradually over the years just become more and more simplified, because I've lost interest in really doing anything, like exercise, or why didn't you do a triathlon? I'm like, oh God, I could think of nothing worse, whereas here it's all the rage. And so, yeah, David and I were discussing this whole concept. And for me, the biggest fear is more that it's not going to happen. I kind of feel like I'm living my life in this groundhog week. Every week is the same. It's all routine. There is very limited joy. Very. I always say I watch everyone on these shows and everyone's so happy and grateful. And I'm like, nope, not feeling it. It's just like, yeah, my life is pretty, I want to say, meaningless, And like the real joy that I have is when I walk my dogs in the park and I just see how ecstatically happy they are. And I'm in this beautiful place with these trees and wide open spaces. And that's my joy, which is probably about 45 minutes, 4 to 5 times a week. And I'm like, damn, man, that's just really pretty crappy. So yeah, my biggest thing is hoping that this is really going to materialize, and I said to David, my biggest fear is that he's going to be like, listen, we've been doing a lot of thinking and it's not you. No, you need to stay in South Africa and figure something else out. So that's kind of where the anxiety has come around speaking to my mom. We touched on that briefly. I kind of wanted to be 100% confirmed before I do anything, before I make any plans, and it reminds me of something that Ricky said to me, where, like, you need to commit first, and then everything comes. So yeah, I've realized, like, with people in community and just having David here as well, and really having this amazing opportunity to connect with everyone from Living Miracles, that there's nothing that's certain. There's no such thing as, like, certainty, and it's really just this faith and trust that, okay, I'm going to just go ahead and start making plans as if it's all going to happen. And I'm really just going to trust that it's going to be taken care of. I mean, my biggest thing are my animals. They really are, they're just these symbols of love in my life that are, like, so gentle and so happy. And, and for me, there's that sense of responsibility, that I'm responsible for them. Which of course is something that has to be undone. Yeah, and then, like, selling my house, and it's so interesting because I took a look around and I just thought, what here would I actually like to take with me? And there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. I'm just like, no, don't need any of that, There's certain things that are practical, but in terms of sentiment, not really.
Mm.
So
That's beautiful. And
yeah.
it's just like even in 12 steps, and we've talked about that before when you originally wrote me. And it's the same thing with community that I've talked about on my shows before. It's like someone has taken the steps. And even as you talk, it's like, I've left the job. I have, with my parents, I didn't have a spouse or, a girlfriend at the time or children. I didn't have those things. I had a job. I had the house. And then when you talk about dogs, Susanna, as you know, my wife, Susanna, she would love to speak with you about that. She went through a lot of healing around these symbols of, and again, it's these symbols of love that show up. And again, even when you started talking, it's like, I don't think anyone, even me, okay, people here think I can do everything. When I first filled out my application, for the first devotional, I'm like, I have nothing to offer these people. I was convinced, you know what I mean? It was like, I could do this, a little bit of this and this, but I can, try to do this. And literally I can do pretty much anything with, him who strengthens me. It's like, and with the people around, it's like, there's nothing. So those are all the things that are presented in the mind. And it's not going to be me. They're going to say no. And all these things. So, yeah.
Yeah. For me, the most fascinating thing is really just looking back, and kind of seeing how everything works together for good. And there are no exceptions except in the ego's judgments, and this whole kind of career path. Like I was in sales for my entire life, which is actually very useful because you get to learn all elements of the company. You interact with every single department within the company because the company's there to serve the customer to make a profit, but it is about the customer ultimately, And I was so over what I was doing. And it was actually just before I came to the devotional stay that I had this discussion with my boss. And I said, listen, I'm really over this. And she said, okay, well, we'll try and find you something within the company. And I was like, okay, fine. I didn't really hold out much hope. And that was in the January. And I applied for different positions. And in the industry that I'm in, there were always certain roles that I thought, oh, that's perfect for me. And I thought, okay, that could always be a fallback. And of course, when I was looking, there was one position available paying really badly, in some remote place. I was like, damn, okay. And I just said, okay, fine. I have no idea where I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm really just going to let go. And it was agreed that I would stay until the 31st of May, because obviously I can't just stay at the company indefinitely, not wanting to really be in the position that I'm in. And 2 weeks before, I thought I'm going to resign. I was actually quite excited to get out of corporate. And this position came up within the pricing department. And the whole of Exco was like, we really want you to do this. I was like, really? Okay, well, this is what's given, And there's been so much learning and forgiveness work for me in terms of managing people and running the department and getting things organized and set up, and all of this, it just feels like it's been this preparation, this really gentle preparation. And I look and I see how the learning that I've done, in supply chain and finance has just, it's like there may actually be a use, And
Definitely.
What David said is when everything is given over to spirit, then he can use that. Because right now what I'm doing is just, it's just one enormous distraction.
Yeah.
It is just a distraction,
all these things that can be used. And it's funny because I'm sitting here in front of a sound booth that my company before that I was in for years. I was in real estate management, development, all these things. Now those things are being even used. We're building a studio that I'm over with the help of Nicholas and so forth. And it's like, all these things will be used. I have literally something that was built in my shop back east. I had it shipped out here so that we can do audio recordings from our studio here. And it's like, so there's so many of these things that are used, and it's like, that's it. It's the willingness to hand it over to Spirit. It's like,
yeah.
So it is exciting with Majorca coming in, and
very, yeah. When he spoke about it, I just, when was it actually? I think it was just before he came to South Africa at the October retreat, where there was kind of talk about it, and I just thought, oh, I had this like spark, you know. I thought, oh my God, yes, and it's fascinating because like Europe has never been like a spark for me as such, you know. But when I heard about it, I thought I can definitely see myself there, you know. I just felt it, and yeah, when I see Lisa's pictures that she posts and the videos, I'm just like, are you kidding? Because the other big thing that I've realized is that regardless, I don't enjoy living in a city.
Yeah.
Like, I really, really don't. Some people love it, and I'm just like, I really don't see any value here whatsoever. I love being in the wide open spaces, which is why I love walking my dogs. You know, it's such a release for me.
You'll be out in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
In Majorca. And it's funny, I had this line come to me this morning, which is from a famous writer, but I was just thinking as you were speaking that that Majorca will be your Atlantis, if you haven't seen Aquaman yet. But I heard this line this morning because when I was reading these lines from the Course, and you know, about this littleness versus magnitude, and we'll try all these forms of littleness, a different position at work. Oh, it'll be better if I just do this, and that will satisfy me for a while, or you know, whatever it is. It's like it's this continual thing until we actually do take that leap, until we step back. And it's this one line from C.S. Lewis, and I heard it in my mind, and I looked it up, and then there's actually a line about the ocean in here. So it would seem that our Lord finds our desires not too strong but too weak. We are half-hearted creatures, fooling about with drink and sex and ambition, when infinite joy is offered us. Like an ignorant child who wants to go on making mud pies in a slum because he cannot imagine what is meant by the offer of a holiday at the sea. We are far too easily pleased. So it was like, I thought of that today, like we can, so maybe that's my prayer as well, to even let go. I've been, going deeper into these things of letting go of possibly the East Coast. My residency is probably going to become Utah. I never thought I'd be an inlander because I was like Aquaman. I like to be by the ocean and everything, but now we have Majorca coming in. It's like all these things are literally provided for us. And we're running out of time here, but I just wanted to, say thank you. It's great to have, and I told you the other day, I was like, when LM Virtual, which Spirit TV used to be called, started, I was on the other side of the screen. I started watching and then came on. I remember my first day here. I walked in and sat down, and Sarah and someone else was doing the show. They're like, come on. And they like put me right on the show. And never did I realize it'd be on here much more often, but like I've shared this morning, it's a gift, you know, once even stepping through any of the fears around it and seeing I can use this for extension. And it's never what I think is like, is really an answer to my prayer today. So I want to let go of any of those other things in my mind that try to easily please me, and be open. We have Jason's show coming on next. And I know that we'll be seeing a lot more of you, Catherine. So you can head to your Atlantis. So thank you so much.
I love that. Thanks,
All
Jeffrey.
Right. Yes, thank you. It was a pleasure. And to all the rest of you, I'll see you midweek, Tuesday and Thursday, and back on next Sunday. I believe we have one more before the next online retreat. So, which is Undo the Doer, which you don't want to miss that online retreat. That's going to be a great one. So thank you so much, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Bye, Catherine.
Beautiful. Just looking at my list of things to remind me what I to talk about, and just remind you. You know, it is the Christmas season, and I know for me, I can have ups and downs with it, you know, expectations and then letdowns because I think it should be a certain way. And we do have a whole bunch of tools that are available. You've certainly got the Spiri app, you've got the Spiri TV, all the shows, Sundays and so on. But one that gets overlooked and just want to shine a little spotlight on it is our prayer and support line. It's available. It's available whenever you need it. You just have to fill a little form and we'll have someone call you and we can sit and hold some space for you while you go through what appears to be an upset. So that's available. The link is livingmiracles.org/circle support and then prayer of support. I'm sure Carolina will throw that up on the screen for you, which is great. And thank you, Carolina. I love what you're doing. You know, you're just getting in there and pouring your heart into these chats. And I know that everybody really appreciates those updates that you do for us. So it's beautiful to have you here. Yeah, so that I'm just looking to see what else there is. Oh, you know, this happens in the next few days. It'll happen. It's being worked on right now. It's called our year in review, and we call it the A to Z. And I love this thing. It comes out every year, and I know that there's a group that are feverishly working on it to get it ready. So be prepared to see that. Get ready. It's called A to Z, and it will be coming out very, very shortly. So that's something to look forward to. That's for sure. Okay, I think that's it for now. Coming up next, of course, is From the Bottom Up with Jason, and that'll come up in a few minutes. See you back then. Bye-bye.
In this video, we're going to show you how to wake up with movies using MWGE. What we know about the mind is that it doesn't differentiate between the emotions it experiences while watching a movie and the emotions it experiences in day-to-day life. And that's how we're able to heal our mind with movies. You first want to pick a movie to watch that supports your spiritual awakening. You can do that using the Emotion Theme Index located under the Reviews drop-down menu. All of the movie reviews on MWGE are indexed by the emotions and main healing themes in the movie. At the top of the index page, we see the 8 main index categories of reviews. I have a block that I'm ready to remove from my life. I click on that category and I'm shown all of the block's topics. My issue is that I feel like a victim of the world and I'm ready to heal that belief. I click on victimization and I'm shown all of the reviews that have victimization as one of the healing topics covered in that movie. At this point, I'm able to browse through the movie reviews. I'm feeling a resonance with the movie Black Swan, so I first want to obtain the movie from a streaming video or DVD rental service. I also want to download the mind tools for use during the movie. I can find the mind tools under the Getting Started drop-down menu. When I'm ready to watch the movie, I'll read the review first. This helps me to stay focused on the movie's healing themes rather than getting lost in the storyline.
Attack it! Come on!
While watching Black Swan, I notice upsetting emotions come up when I see the main character Nina hurting herself. The upset is my cue to pause the movie and fill out a mind tool. If I can fill out a worksheet when I'm feeling the upset, I have a much better chance of getting it off the perceptual screen where I'm in reaction mode and back into my mind where I can look at what the upsetting emotions are, what the upsetting thoughts are, and what the underlying beliefs are. Beneath all that is the desire to have something different than it is. If I can get down to that place in my mind where I can see that I'm desiring something other than peace, then I can choose again. And the miracle is that I can call upon Spirit to help me make that choice for present peace. The Instrument for Peace is another downloadable worksheet that takes you step by step through the process of clearing upsetting emotions. It's especially helpful if you have difficulty or feel resistance moving through any level of the mind when taking an upset back. While filling out a worksheet, you may also uncover other limiting beliefs, so you'll want to fill out as many worksheets as necessary until you feel complete. The power of using these mind tools with the movie reviews on MWGE is that it saves time in the awakening process. Rather than playing out painful dramas in your life, you can simply let the characters on the screen do it for you. With all of the subscription plans, you get the written movie reviews and the mind tools. With the ProPop subscription, you also get audio and video setups with many of the movie reviews so that you can go even deeper into the healing themes. With the MasterPop subscription, you also get our library of streaming metaphysical movie classics with commentary, as well as hundreds of clips highlighting the key healing scenes in movies. If you're ready to add some fun to your spiritual practice, subscribe by going to mwge.org. MWGE is movie watching with a purpose.
If you were walking through a desert and you were thirsty, you may have a hallucination that we call a mirage of an oasis. And A Course in Miracles is your oasis. You're hallucinating a book now in this crazy, impossible situation of a world. And you need help to extract from impossibility, to return to inevitability, eternity.
Yeah, David has just been an example of one who I feel has completely transcended the ego.
You can train your mind to escape an impossible situation. And wouldn't you want to do it if you could? Wouldn't that be a good application of effort if you could escape time and remember eternity? Remember your true home. Remember your true source.
It's like when I connect with David in my mind, or when I'm talking with him or emailing with him, it's like it elevates my mind into this very abstract place, which feels great, because that's our true identity, our true nature is abstract. It's not limited, it's not tiny, it's not concrete, it's expansive, it's pure spirit.
Jesus says in A Course in Miracles, an untrained mind can accomplish nothing. That's good to know from Jesus. Like, give it to me straight. An untrained mind can accomplish nothing. He also says, you are much too tolerant of mind wandering. Put those two together. You start to realize, wow, he's giving me a curriculum to follow with this book, and he's giving me instructions, and they're actually really simple instructions. And there's only 2 instructions for the workbook. Only 2. Don't do more than 1 lesson a day, and as best you can, try not to make exceptions to the lesson as you practice when you move through the day.
It seems like there's a journey where we have to forgive and forgive and forgive and follow guidance and practice, and we seem to get closer and closer. And for sure, on the from the linear perspective, that is the way that we experience it. But what David has always emphasized in some of his deeper talks is that you really don't have to wait, that it's available this very instant.
It will seem initially, when the mind is untrained, it will take an effort. But if you can put your effort into escaping from this world, wouldn't you do it?
If there's a willingness to just go all the way into the mind, to let go completely of this world and value nothing but the truth, then that experience will be given, because our mind is that powerful.
Jesus knows we can do this. He did it. He knows it's inevitable for us too. He's just trying to save time and get us moving in the right direction.
Yeah, David has just been the symbol in my mind of the possibility of enlightenment, that enlightenment is possible right now.
Miracles should be involuntary. Wouldn't it be great to be such a habitual miracle extender that all you can do is extend miracles, and only constructive, helpful acts that would bless you and bless the entire universe would happen in an involuntary way, without your effort. What does this even mean? It just means you're so aligned with God and the Holy Spirit that you're just flowing through the day, and miracles are just emanating and radiating through you everywhere you seem to go, everyone you meet.
I'm just so grateful to be here. I've been through a number of these online retreats, and I have been just blown away with the intimacy and just how I feel everybody. You know, it's like there's physical bodies in this room, but it's like it's no different to being connected with all of you. It's just that really that connection, that minds really are joined. You know, so I'm just so grateful to be here, and thank you.
And I feel something is stirring in me so deep, and I'm ready for it. And I couldn't have expected this to come from an online retreat.
Welcome back, everyone. You're still here. That's the good news. Coming up next is From the Bottom Up with Jason. So I'll pass the mic over. And just waiting for the screen to appear on mine. There it comes.
Well, Merry Christmas, everyone. Welcome to another episode of From the Bottom Up with my special guest, Kristen Buxton.
Merry Christmas, everyone. We have our Christmas hats on.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. This is a pre-recording. We were meditating. I forgot. I'm actually right now in a ballet watching the Moscow Bolshoi ballet dancers stream live into a Salt Lake City theater. So this is my hologram projecting into your living room because I have some Christmas gifts I'd like to give you. These past few days I've had some just deep awarenesses that I really feel I'd like to share and extend to help keep them in my awareness. Because we've been focusing, if you've been watching my morning show, we've been focusing on really no compromise and attentiveness to the small things. Because we've been watching a movie called Fahrenheit 11/9 that Michael Moore made, which is basically about how did Trump get elected over Hillary Clinton, and they show all of this music. This is my fight, da, 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 da. And it's all like, you know, when Hillary Clinton got elected. And they're all thinking it's going to happen right into...
so sure. They were celebrating and popping champagne before the results came through. They were in full celebration.
Very disappointed when it flipped and Trump started winning. And then Michael Moore leaves it with, how did this happen? And he goes through this whole movie showing all of these dynamics and compromises of the mind, and how when the unconscious, you know, isn't made manifest in people's minds in terms of their thoughts, this character, Trump, shows up to play it all. And today I was kind of blown away because we just finished watching it, where they showed how does a society slide from democracy into despotism, which could be a symbol of saying, how does society flow from, say, sharing, a symbol of sharing, into autocratic rule. And they said basically you take over the FBI, you take over, and no, not take over, you negate the power, and you say, they're liars, they're up to no good. You say the CIA is up to no good. You say the media, it's fake. You go through all the institutions that may have some helpful value, and you degrade them. And you basically say, I'm the only one who knows the truth. And basically you get people trusting you, and then slowly you throw some trial balloons out there, like, what would a 16-year presidency look like? And I like how the president of China got a life term. We should do that here. You throw out all these trial balloons and start shifting the consciousness. And then one of our people watching the movie, which you had a thought about too, asked, well, what do you do if this is what's going on out there? And I was answering from the realm of, well, it's no compromise. You can't let the little things slip by. You can't compromise on your feelings in what the world will call tiny situations. You have to speak up and say what you're feeling and let the ego wash through and have no compromise on following the guidance. Otherwise, you end up slipping into this realm of doing things you never thought you would do. And that's what's happening in the world. It's playing out this extreme thought system. But I wanted to hear from you. What is it you heard to that question? What do you do?
Yeah, I think it's what you were just saying. It's the same thing, and I'm really warm with my hat on, so I haven't taken off my Christmas hat. Yeah, I saw it almost like as a bigger outpicturing of an inward condition, and so when you see what happens or what's happened, like with the politics and on this grand scale, and you just go, wow. So much compromise to the point where the denial is unbelievable. Like how could they be in such denial? How could they think that we can't see what behind and straight through what's being said?
Because you might be referring to like the Flint water crisis, where there's no water problem or there's no racial problem or whatever. They're just speaking these words.
Yeah.
How could they possibly not see that?
Yeah, yeah. And yet it's a state of mind. Like you're either in such integrity with the spirit that your thoughts and words and emotions and actions line up. Like that's what Jesus calls honesty. You know, honesty and integrity are the same thing. And who really could claim total and absolute integrity and honesty on a 24/7 basis, you know, yet. We're getting there. We're you know, really developing this trust in the spirit, which is the ultimate foundation underneath honesty and integrity. But until that's like really solid and unwavering, and therefore your connection with the truth and with the wisdom is unwavering, then there is this unconscious slipping into what is not true and believing in what is not true. So I think it's what's happening in consciousness, but more and more as we come on this journey, the devotion is to being transparent, you know, being upfront, being willing to just keep exposing what is in the mind, to be shown what is true, what is real, you know, what is false.
And Michael Moore had a point here even around that transparency. He said there have been other leaders who've been transparent and break the mold and don't talk like other politicians. Was even comparing him to Hitler. And he said, but what is your transparency for? Is it to expose and release? Or is it to gain a following or more power? So the transparency has to have a purpose as well.
Yeah, the ego can use anything, including the idea of being transparent, you know, for its own purposes, which is fake. It's like, and then that being fake, being untrue, the deception then gets projected onto anything else that would expose it. So it's one of the ego's biggest tricks, is that kind of label and dismiss, and it's just always throwing off decoys to just keep the mind distracted by the avoidances of really seeing what's going on so clearly, you know, so clearly. Because even that question Michael Moore's saying, he's like, how did this happen? Yeah, even that, like, if this is all my mind, if this is all our mind, how did what happen? You know, how is it that my mind can be so asleep that all these things can seem to be happening beyond my control and beyond my awareness and beyond my understanding? You know, it's like this is really taking it way beyond even the level of pretending to be a character or a person in a situation that it doesn't understand, you know, at the mercy of a crazy world or an upside down system or a broken system. It's like, well, that's actually a lie, if that's not my identity at all. So we've got to keep calling on, where is the delusion, where is the trick, where is the deception, really? Where can it be seen so that it can be forgiven and I can know who I am? You know, that's the goal. So it's quite profound even watching that whole movie and seeing that, where you can get drawn into like, what? How could they how could this happen? You know, and yet even that movement of thought.
I had a realization around this today. You had left the room because when I was first watching it with David, I had David here and Francis here, and we were watching the theater. I was like, because Obama goes in and drinks the water at Flint, basically saying there's no problem, when you could see that the way it was set up, it was just, there was a problem, you know. Dare I say that on a Course in Miracles show. There was a problem in terms of some guidance was needed. And I looked at David and I'm like, Obama? And he's like, they're all in denial. Denial runs very deep, you know. And it was like shocking because I was always asking this question, how could they? How could anybody know? And today I saw that question, how could they know, is actually a trick. Who's the they? There's no Donald Trump or Obama that is deciding whether to listen to the voice of the ego or the Holy Spirit. There's no decision maker there. It's the ego speaking. It's just Trump is the ego speaking. So to ask the question, how could they? It's like a layer of denial over top of the whole thing. It's like, no, that's the ego, and that's what the ego does.
Yeah, and then it complicates it with you trying to figure out. But the mind that's trying to figure out, it's like there's right mind and wrong mind. Pure and simple. That's the simplest terms. There's right mind and wrong mind. Who am I? Who am I perceiving with? If there's a question arising, it's, you know, where is the question truly coming from? And even if, any question actually is not coming from the Christ, that Christ is the state of mind that just is. And there are questions that it can be helpful to keep undoing, you know, the confusion and healing the unconscious beliefs in the direction of clarity. But ultimately, wouldn't every question that arises, you know, unless it's just being used on behalf of the Spirit to point, like the Spirit could say, who is the I, or help you, you know. But it's not. There's no confusion behind the question. If there's confusion behind the question, it has to be there's an identity asking the question, and there's no gap between the perceiver and the perceived. It's the same mind witnessing to itself and its beliefs.
That's what happened. It was like I could see that question. Well, how could anybody, if they knew that, then lie? It's like that's a layer, an unnecessary layer of just seeing what you're saying. Well, what do I see in this moment? Am I listening to the Spirit, or believing there's a person out there that could really do such things or whatever? It's kind of cool.
Yeah, that is cool, because it really frees you. Because ultimately, if our goal is to see the innocence in our brother, it seems it's impossible when you don't know who your brother is and you don't know what the motives are. And
questioning motives.
Questioning motives.
And Jesus says, do not question your brother. Yeah. Do not analyze the motives of your brother. That's the question.
Right. You take even your brother out of the picture. If it's purely
mind. You're right. You were going to say. Well, so this lady continued on asking how. And so we really focused on the how. Like, how does the mind slip into this place where it gets so lost that it can make these kinds of decisions and be in such denial? But before I go into it, there's a clip of another movie I could talk about. I thought maybe we could go into one of the core ideas we wanted to bring into this episode, because it was a big day yesterday. We've had the house in Europe has come in. We've put an offer in on the house, and so David's over there right now with Lisa, just celebrating all these miracles with the house purchase. He said he's never laughed so much as he did in a notarial's office about such business transactions. They were having so much fun. And then they did more laughing somewhere else at some Burger King.
Constant laughing. He said it was bellowing laughter, like at the signing for this property. Just everyone is in such joy, such total joy.
They're so happy we're buying it because
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know, if we sent it on the show, we might have, but this lady was the lady who rented David and us a property in Mallorca in 2010 for a 6-week devotional. They're the ones who own this property. And when Frank, I think you heard it from Frank last week, when Frank was there with Lisa talking, they're like, you sound like this guy, David Hoffmeister, from years ago, who rented the property. And we are. Oh, sweet Jesus. You know, like,
yeah, they're just so happy, just feeling the guidance and the connection behind all of it, because any kind of house purchase or anything involving Spain for some reason is very complicated. You keep every week or every step you take, you discover something new.
You have to get a military license.
You have to get a military license to sell the property to an organization, and so it's just, and each step of the way we could have gone, okay, really, are we to continue with this, looking logistically at it? But when you look at it from the miracle perspective of, is this Jesus's plan? Is this the guidance? Can we feel it? Is it lining up? It's just yes, yes, yes all the way through. Like the feeling is basically what shows us. And then, yeah, such joy. It was such joy. David was telling me they were showing them the Sperry app, and that it's being translated into Espanol. And so the daughter of the homeowner there who's selling the property, he was showing her the Sperry app in Espanol, and she was so giddy with happiness that she was going to do it, and she couldn't make sense of it because she couldn't come up with a problem. She said, I have no problems. And they all went around the table. None of us have problems. They were so happy. She said, unless it's unconscious. Maybe I have an unconscious problem, but right now in this moment, I can't come up with a problem. So they agreed they would leave Sperry for later.
There's a time to bring him out. Her out. So Lisa, just after the whole thing went through, she just went into this deep rest and felt like her 2-month mission, it's finished. So they're over there, and we were over here helping orchestrate the transfer. And yesterday was very busy with our admin team. We're walking into Aquaman movie to celebrate the end of everything, and then you can do your final transfer now. And so they had to let go of the movie and do their things, and after a few minutes of, okay, this is our priority, came back into the movie, and so it was the height of being done through for all of us, and just really needing to step out for a moment, but at the same time seeing everything is the same. There's really no difference with the movie. And at a certain point in the movie, I just felt this, just some kind of when he grabs the trident from a previous king, and this big beast is there saying, you're the most unworthy potential king that ever existed. How do you think you could possibly pick up the trident? And I could just feel like, wow, where this movie is going is so cool. Like, it's not some arrogant guy that's full of confidence. It's like he has to say, you're right, that is what I believe. But if you're with me, and you let these doubt thoughts go, basically, with me, I'm willing to step into my inheritance. And I could feel all this emotion and this beauty, and then just sunk deeper, and then it felt like Jesus was telling me to get off the timeline and stop thinking equality has anything to do with form. And it's, you're equal in mind. You're not really training anybody in the ministry. This is not the ministry. The ministry is the whole, something much, much bigger, and almost like there are many, many, many paths. And I just had this palpable feeling of that everything is so tiny. And you have to leave everybody to me. And doing is tiny. Doing is tiny, but it has to be honored. But there's so much I want to just embrace with you, and which was I need do nothing. And in that, many busy doings will happen, but you're so in this quiet center. And then you felt today to just really support me in that, the truth of that.
But yeah, this lesson this morning that I read was, it's lesson 65. My only function is the one God gave me. And so I just shared this with this morning with Jason, that it just feels like it's I need do nothing as a section in the text, and then this is a lesson, and it just feels like they go hand in hand. They're really pointing to a real permission to let go of responsibility and just keep coming back to the priority. Actually, that's what it feels to me. So I'll just start reading a bit, and we'll just see how we flow with it and what thoughts come and how it kind of ties in with everything. The idea for today reaffirms your commitment to salvation. It also reminds you that you have no other function, or that you have no function other than that. I might just start that again. The idea for today reaffirms your commitment to salvation. It also reminds you that you have no function other than that. Both of these thoughts are obviously necessary for a total commitment. Salvation cannot be the only purpose you hold while you still cherish others. The full acceptance of salvation as your only function necessarily entails two phases: the recognition of salvation as your function, and the relinquishment of all the other goals you have invented for yourself. So that to me just immediately speaks to, like, whenever there's a feeling of I need to, I must, I'm responsible to or for something, it immediately, there's this redirect and this full permission to come back to, oh, that's right, whatever else it is, unless it feels like it's truly coming from my heart, from the heart of God, and it's for the peace of my mind, then I'm being given permission to basically let it go and put this first.
Because part of my assignment is I'm like a conductor. Because there's so many projects going on right now with the book and the app's out and payment for Spain.
How a major property sale. There's a big project at the monastery.
Right. Oh, yeah. Superstructure.
A big structure being built.
So a lot of people are leading these assignments, and I'm in because I have these relationships with them all. And then somehow we were just talking to David today, and like if a conductor goes and plays the instrument for the musician, or even tries to play beside them so that they can tune in with them, he's missing. He can't do his role, and the whole thing, really the assignment to just step back, goes down. So somehow when we were talking to David, that stuck out even more. Like a conductor's a conductor, and then he even said, if you really believe you're a conductor or an air traffic controller, that's stressful. Like making sure the planes don't crash, or it can serve for a while to just be in the precision, but in the end, you even have to step out of that role of conductor and air traffic controller and just accept the more abstract spaces of mind that want to come in, and give yourself permission to go with it. And then, he'll pull you out at the right time.
Yeah.
And I was even saying just a few minutes ago to the whole team here, because a lot of people had a lot of emotion after that movie, the Trump. They call it Trump, but
11/9.
Fahrenheit 11/9. And I said, yeah, you have to give yourself full permission to let that emotion come up. And I was just telling them a story where I just had, just a lot of depression. That's something that I never really felt before. Came up, and you have to give it so much permission, just like you have to let yourself go into the abstract. And when the guidance comes in, just to keep the abstract, or it's time to step out of that movement coming through. He's so precise, and I just had this mission. I had headed, he's like, go to Bellingham, Washington right now and call this girl, and her name was Shirley. And so I just got on the phone and called her, and just had all these miracles down there, unbelievable miracles that I don't feel necessarily to repeat right now, but the miracles are always there to just help keep the abstract going. If you're starting to slip out and ego thoughts are coming, he's like, get back into your miracle working. Or if you have darkness that's moving through and it's time to not wallow in it now, get back into your miracle working. So.
Yeah, because in the miracle working, there's this element of I am not in control. That's the whole point of the miracle, is they're not under conscious control. Jesus performs them through us. And our part is to be willing and ready and available. So when it feels like we are consciously in control, even of our area, our function, it's another word for personal responsibility.
Yeah, there's no miracle working in
that. We lose the joy. Yeah. So I love that. It's like the prompt is just keep coming back to give it all over, let it all go. Even 1,000 times a day, being willing to just let it go. Like, that's what I do. I give myself permission. If ever I start to feel like I'm responsible in some way, it's like, okay, I let it all go. And remember, at first that was kind of scary, because I was like, because it seems to take so much willingness to take on whatever God has given us to steward and to care for. I even had some emotion last time I was on your show about that. Like, whatever it is that's part of our pathway, we really fully pour our heart into. But as soon as it starts to feel like it's not for our heart, even for a moment or a minute, as soon as it's felt, it's like it's a direction for our mind of come back to this. My only function is the one God gave me, or truly I need do nothing to come back into the miracle. And then from there, you may be activated within a second, or maybe you have to meditate for an hour, or maybe the plan gets revealed to you in a new way. But
how did you, when you first told me about that, you made you think of Aquaman? Like, not to take on things that aren't for you.
Yeah, well, the very next line. This is the only way in which you can take your rightful place among the saviors of the world. Because he was in quite denial of his magnitude. He was playing around on the surface. Pretending to be a man. But really
he was Aquaman.
And he needed to go into the depths, and really into the depths too. He had to go through the trench, the abyss. He had to face all his doubt thoughts and his unworthiness. And he had to basically accept that he had a calling. Yeah, so. Yeah. So basically this full acceptance is the only way in which you can take your rightful place among the saviors of the world. This is the only way in which you can say and mean my only function is the one God gave me. And this is the only way in which you can find peace of mind. I can carry on. There are other really nice lines in here. Okay. Today's idea offers you escape from all your perceived difficulties. Oh, so when we were going to see the movie, David had said Aquaman will heal or cure like 75% of all your problems. Because basically it's like you watch that movie and it's all in there, from unworthiness and denial of true identity, all the way through to true identity. And here, this lesson, so Aquaman and this lesson 65. Today's idea offers you escape from all your perceived difficulties. It places the key to the door of peace, which you have closed upon yourself in your own hands. It gives you the answer to all the searching you have done since time began. I mean, that's just, yeah, that's so beautiful. I love it when it just brings it back to, you know, you've closed the door upon yourself, and this places the key within your own hands. It's so practical. It's basically you have the answer, and it's just let go of whatever else you think your purpose is and your function is and what you have to do, and accept that your one function is this relationship with God. You know, this is everything. And then he goes into that this lesson is the purpose of this lesson, and arranging your day so that you have set apart the time for God is part of a long-range disciplinary training your mind needs, so that the Holy Spirit can use it consistently for the purpose He shares with you. So, yeah, he's really bringing in that this is part of a long-range plan and a disciplinary training, because it's, yeah, they can be beautiful words, but, you know, as we know, it just takes a lot of seeing what are the other purposes, and where is it that my mind believes that there is another function more important right now than my peace of mind.
He kept going through that training, learning how to use a trident and swim, and we were showing it through the movie. But I thought it was interesting when he kept trying to meet his mother, who had left him when he was young to save him, because the king would have come and killed him if he knew where he was, and so she had to leave. And then they banished the queen, her, to the secret underworld, but they thought she was dead. And so finally, after a certain level of training, when am I going to meet my mother? And they said, she's been banished, maybe even dead. And he's like, what? She didn't love me? She left me because of me, so it was my fault that she left, and so this unworthiness was already coming up. So all the training was really to prepare him to flush up this unworthiness. He wasn't ready until a certain point. So he had to face as much as he could, and then when he found she was alive, you know, it was like this giant boost to him to face the real unworthiness, instead of it being reflected by my mother left me. It was this internal voice that he had to face from this mythical beast. And yeah, and this is all of this relates to Christmas, because we're using Aquaman and function God gave me, but this is the resurrection. You know, Aquaman went through his resurrection, letting all the doubt thoughts come up and accept his Aquamanness. Like, accept his Christhood by letting all the doubt thoughts go. And he never wanted to be king. He never wanted to be an authority, which is what made him a good king. He just wanted peace. The only reason he took on the job was because he didn't want the surface to fight with the dwellers, the underwater dwellers from Atlantis and different places. So his purpose was unification, and there was a good line actually at one point where they said something like, one of the kings just wanted to be a kingdom of the underwater, and the other wanted to be a king on top. But you're a true king, because there isn't two worlds. There isn't a surface and an underwater. There's one world. And there was a unification line. Can you accept that one world is your only goal? His mother says to him. If you can, then you're ready to be king. And somehow he said yes on some level. Or maybe it was the other woman, the red-haired woman, that said that. But. So there's really some fantastical scenes and worlds, and we'd probably recommend 3D, but if you see it from this perspective of facing your demons and bringing the worlds together, then it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, because it is an integration. Wherever there's that, like a split, then that's really what's being healed.
You got another line for us?
I do have another line, because like this lesson, it's like, you know, a lot of times the question can be asked, what is forgiveness? You know, what is forgiveness? And Jesus does go into that, but he also really focuses on what forgiveness is not. You know? And
forgiveness to destroy, he calls it.
Yeah, the ego's use of forgiveness is more just to say I'm better than you, and so I'll, you know, overlook your error. So basically, I believe that you've done something wrong, but I'll forgive you for it. You know, that is not forgiveness. And several forgiveness to destroy that really just maintain a sense of separation. And in here as well, it's like you can go through this lesson and go, okay, great, yep, salvation's my function, but what is that? You know, what is that exactly? If you're not in the experience of it, it's like, okay, my only function's the one God gave me, but can you be specific? What does that actually mean? Because the mind is so used to doing and wanting to lock into it, to know it, to be able to have it. But what he's doing here is more saying this idea offers you escape from all your perceived difficulties. And he's basically saying, when you say this, you're accepting that you only have one function. So let yourself see all of the other functions you think you have, and as you let them go, there's a line here, on this clean slate, let my true function be written for me. So the goal is emptying consciousness. You know, it's removing the blocks to love's awareness. It's allowing the false purposes, the egoic purposes, the personal responsibility to be identified, and consciously seeing it and letting it go, and coming back to accepting, even if I don't know what it means in this moment, but my only function is the one God gave me. And in that, just breathing through it and allowing the space for that, you are accepting your function that God has given you.
It's like, show me what I believe. Another way of saying, what's against my function is helpful. Like, show me. Because this guy in this episode that I'm not going to show, but I've talked about several times the past few days. It's called The Push. And he basically, there's this magician, Darren Brown, and he gets these people on his show, and they all apply months in advance because they all feel static or stagnant in their life. And so they apply knowing that they're going to go through some kind of a rocky period. And he gets them to come in for like these job interviews or different things, and they don't know they're on the show, right? But they've made this prayer to show me the conditions that are keeping me from this one salvation. So this one guy gets on the show, and it's like the episode, it's like a movie, The Game, where Michael Douglas has to go through all these stage scenarios, but he loses track. Is it the real or is it not? And this guy comes on, he has no idea that 70 actors have been hired for this giant experiment to see if societal pressure, people-pleasing, can get you to commit murder, he says in his British accent. Murder. Murder. And basically, this is the answer to that lady's question of how can you end up so far away where you're in such layers of denial? One small step at a time away from your true function, compromise. And in this, the first thing that they get him to do is, this guy, it's an actor, remember, but he dies. He thinks he's dying, goes to get his drugs to help him, but he doesn't, he dies. And it's this big scenario that's set up for this shindig to raise money for homeless people or some kind of great charity. And basically, in order to not have the charity go down, he agrees to hide the body just until the charity's over. So they hide the body.
So that's the first step on a slippery slope.
Exactly. Hides the body. Exactly. And then he doesn't realize it, but the guy was the one who was going to give the speech to raise all the money, and he had his speech all prepared out. So the guy who's hosted the thing, look, man, you were going to come here to be a waiter, but I want you to get up there and read the speech, and you're going to be the one, because they don't know what he looks like. So he's like, are you kidding me? How can I? He's like, just do it. You can just do it. And he's like, okay. So he gets up in front of these 70 actors.
So that's the second step.
The second step.
On this dark, slippery slope. And Jesus says, if you take a first step on this dark, slippery slope, the rest will surely follow, and you will not know, how you got to where you end up, because the rest follow, and then they're so out of awareness, it's like you just descend really quickly.
That's it. That's exactly it. So he gets up there and gives this speech as if he's this dead guy. And by the end, everyone thinks he's this guy. So now he's this big hotshot. Now he's in this false self-confident thing. Then they get these actors to give subliminal messages, famous actors, Stephen Fry, all these ones that he recognizes, saying, come on, one more push and we're going to get some funds for this thing. And lie after lie after lie until the guy that was dead was actually in a coma, wakes up and isn't dead, and is so angry at them putting them in this box instead of calling the hospital to help him when he was in this coma. And he feels so guilty, and they're about to lose all the money and everything's going to be exposed and he's going to go to prison. That the only solution is they have all this agreement, push, push, push. And he said this, so he pushes the guy off a building to kill him in order to alleviate the kill. And you would never believe that would happen, but through small compromise, it happens. And so all of those compromises of people-pleasing and pride and self-concept get revealed in this episode. So without someone there, it's a pretty hard episode to watch. We're walking you through it, but yeah, I don't know. I think of that one. Looking at the negation. That's how you avoid Christmas, is one small compromise.
Being frazzled. Yeah. This is how you avoid being frazzled at Christmas. Like truly, the message of Christmas and the purpose of Christmas is to remember who we are. It's like this rebirth in awareness. Anytime it's forgotten, it can be a rebirth of the awareness of Christ's presence. And what is Christ's presence but love, innocence, just to have that worthiness, to know that we need do nothing to even feel the love of the Spirit. So, yeah, that's what it is. It's like compromise, and then one leads to the next, and once you've done it in one, you think, oh, well, I might as well just keep going. And before you know it, you're just frazzled. You're tired, or you're stressed, or you've just added on. The ego's the sneaky little add-on thing, and it will just add on and add on and add on. And yeah, the more you add on, the further away from the connection you get. So, but the good news is at any moment you can just stop and come back, come home.
Realize it's all a game. Like that's what happens at the very end. They do it and they feel so bad and they're so guilty. And then Darren Brown walks out and they know because they've signed it and they realize that they've been part of this whole act, and they're just he's ready to grab them. They got these people, and they fall into his arms and they just cry and cry and cry like, it's not real. I didn't kill somebody.
Oh my God. That's intense. It's an intense way to learn the lesson.
Nothing ever happened, and they actually have gratitude after for seeing all that they compromised on, and how they could, the life they must be living now, that they would compromise in that kind of a way. So they're grateful, actually. Just like Michael Douglas was grateful for the game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way we can look at it. It's like, okay, somehow this can all be used to help us wake up.
Mm. Radical. And I guess if you can do it in a night, that's pretty fast.
Yeah,
You prayed
2
to
hours.
like, wow, 2 hours. Actually, that's pretty amazing.
Now you'll watch it with me.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm not going to watch it.
So I was not interested. No, I'm like, wow. Actually, if you look at it like the movie Lucy, you know, that was fast. It was like 48 hours. And it was extreme. It was intense, you know, what she went through. But as far as in terms of like the speed up, it's like highly motivated. You know, highly motivated to realize her function and, yeah, get out of the nightmare.
That was a positive take on it, so it's better. Lucy's better. Well, do you have any more lines, or is that it? That was your last line?
That's it.
Well, I think we'll just end with that. Yeah, thank you for joining us in this Christmas special.
Santa and his helper.
I've still got my Monday show tomorrow, but this is a Merry Christmas to you and to you. And have a good Christmas. Merry Christmas. What do you say?
You say Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
We wish you a
Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Much love, everyone.
Thank you. Love you.
Oh, beautiful. What a great way to end the show. Wish you a Merry Christmas. Well, there is one gift we have left that I forgot to mention, so I'm just going to share it with you now. This moment is your miracle. There is an additional little Christmas gift that's available till Christmas Day, and that's a free song from Netta Boyan. And that's part of the package when you pre-order prior to the end of Christmas Day. And then that little gift goes away. And as I was listening to Jason and Kristen, you know, and the rest of the shows today, it just came to my mind, you know, we just put out an MWGE newsletter, and the question was presence, as in being here, or presence that we normally give. And so I just want to leave you with that thought. What if the best present that you can give this Christmas is your presence? And the only gift that we have to give is the one that we will receive, and that's love. And that's what this season is all about. It's giving that gift, the gift of love, and that's all that we have to give. So when, you know, we say to have all, give all, how about giving some love in your own presence? Beautiful. Thank you, guys. Thanks for being here. Merry Christmas to all, and we'll see you shortly. Bye for now.